second.
So walking directly to the database not saved. Prepare a user request directly to the database into tier not saved.
Two-tier has no database.
Oh.
Okay, it's client and server.
Yeah.
As simple as that. So, for example, like if you're running on an application like a Microsoft project, okay, which is all Access, but in a home network you use this server, this machine as server, and another machine as a client. That's a client-server application. But that's very rare nowadays because everybody needs database. There's something called big data, though it is talking about data, but it's not actually a database. It's all Java application, yeah, or some other form of application. But let's take a look at this layered architecture for a minute. Okay. So Google does have a UI component. You see the web page, right? So that's the client thing. So that's one. It does have services interface. Okay, because it has some services running that goes and scan all over the place, get this information. That's called crawler, like kayak.com, google.com, they're all crawlers. Bing, search engines, they don't have anything on their own, but what they do is that they go all over the place and picks up information and displays them back. So they do have UI component, they do have services interface, they do have not the data access but the services gateway, which is where they also built up some logic behind it, okay, and then they bring it back. Now what happens in this whole architecture system, you do have security, but that security is on the client side, not on the server side. So Google will go and search anything and everything, but depending on how you want to see it, you set up things in your Internet Explorer. You want to filter away profanity and everything. So that's your setting, that's not Google's setting. Google will display as it is.
We will retrieve any, no, if we will ask for something, then that Google will go to another site and pick up the data at the same time. It's not like they are storing that data somewhere and then giving us. So it means they don't have real data database. Is that
well? That's a topic for another discussion when you learn about data and everything.
Okay.
But data can be classified into many things. Data is information. Data is knowledge. Okay. Google is providing you information, but it is not storing that information.
So every time Google is picking up information from somewhere and that
yes,
giving us all that.
But what also happens is all these UI components, web services, they do have cookies. Okay. So cookies is something that you store locally and you also store on the server side. It's called caching. What happens during that time is, like, suppose you want to search for a school system. Okay, so you type in school system. Google will identify based upon your location and based upon your search habits. It has this business workflow. It has those business components. Okay, so based upon that logic, it will do some calculations and it will provide you searches. Okay, if you do let's say Stonehill Elementary or Stonehill Middle School search, even though there might be a lot of Stonehill Middle Schools in India, China, Middle East, wherever, Hong Kong, it will not give you those. Okay, but it will identify that you're coming from this particular gateway, so it will give you the closest searches. So that logic is all coming out of this business workflow. Google does not have information, but what Google will do, it will go and find other services that has information about Stonehill Middle School, and then it will display. So it's up for discussion whether that is considered as data or not, because Google is not storing it, but because data is information, it is providing information. So it does have some services running on the database. Okay. And so this is one tier, services is one tier, service gateway is another tier. Service gateway is where you are being identified by Google that you are in this zip code and the closest school is this particular one. So that service gateway is coming into picture, then your business logic is coming into picture, your UI is coming into picture. Okay. So all these things makes, like, anytime you have more than two components in this layer, it's an N tier. 3 is an NTR. Okay. Now, coming back to Sheetal's assessment, when you think about security, when you think about networking, which is like any banking site, PayPal, or like say Amazon.com, even Amazon.com, they rarely have stuff in their warehouse. But what they do is if they don't have stuff in the warehouse, they'll go to some other suppliers. And then you are able to do a transaction and shopping on one site, but the shipments will be coming from different places. So that's where all your security, communication, then your operational intelligence. Oh, I don't have it, but I know who has it. I can get it from there. So Amazon.com is still more complex. If you start writing test cases for these things, you'll see how complex these things are.
So what about security in Google?
There's no security in Google. That's what I was trying to tell you. All the security or filter that you do, it's on client side. Google has nothing. It's open. You search whatever you want to search for. So, having said that, let's talk about testing techniques today. Right? Let's talk about automation, manual, other types of testing, and what are the methodologies. Last time Amy was asking about agile and waterfall and all those methods. We'll learn about it. Okay. Kavita, you following us? Deepika.
No,
I'm sorry.
Do you like any Kavita?
No, I think in the
Then why
last
you're
class.
saying Kavita again?
No, last class I think we had Kavita.
It was only you who was saying Kavita.
No. Last PMP class. Yeah, PMP class.
Still she was Deepika.
PMP
Oh, PMP class. Okay, last class.
PMP class.
I thought the previous class. Haven't you done all these manual tests?
No.
Oh, that was the only introduction.
See the next diagram. 31.
So what is manual testing? When you execute the test cases manually. Okay, that is one of the oldest type of techniques, because before tools you started using testings. Yes.
Does anybody ever use it? No, right?
What?
Manual testing. Is it like in a very small corporation they might be using it or no?
Let me put it this way. About 80% of the testing is manual testing.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Only 20% is manual automation. Automation comes.
No, sorry. I think I was misunderstanding. Manual means without any particular tools or software. That's what I meant.
No, see.
Okay, manual means like
Person is doing that.
person is doing. Okay,
Right.
I misunderstood for that. That's why I asked you.
No. When we say manual testing, okay, even if you are recording your test cases on a Microsoft Word or Microsoft Excel, these are tools that you are using, right? But even though these are tools, you are writing them. You are writing each test case. You are executing each test case. You are basically literally eyeballing a lot of stuff. So it's a human interface that's coming into picture, which makes it manual testing. Okay, when we talk about automation, you won't even know what happened during automation. Okay, it's like literally black box. You'll write some scripts, you'll execute those scripts. 15 minutes later, you'll see the results. So you don't know what happened there. Now, things like where the complex logic is, say airlines industries or banking industry, they all need manual testing because they want human logic into it, because you and I can think about only so much, but when let's say 15 million people uses a website, they have their own logic. Okay, you cannot capture all those logic in a test cases. But what automation does in the whole process is we cannot find 15 million to test at one time. Right? So in order to generate that kind of load, you need the scripts. So that's the automation part of it. Now see here, 100% automation is not possible. It is not possible.
So manual testing is done to check the coding in programming.
Manual testing?
We do in programming to check the codes.
Yeah, this we'll talk about these white box and black box testing. This is where the code review comes into picture.
Rajiv, can you hear me clearly?
I can hear you like twice. I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Was that?
Yes, I can.
Yes, you can. Okay. I probably will take a quick pause. We'll disconnect the computer voice and connect to the phone. Maybe
Okay.
this will be better. So, Rajiv, we will take like just like a minute pause and we will transfer it over to phone.
Okay. All right. I'll get some water by it.
I'll be there. Thanks. Bye.
I was so busy for the food.
All right.
I have technical difficulties.
Well,
Because somehow on this laptop I was not able, you know what happens in my desktop, the headphones,
Welcome to GoToMeeting. There are 2 other callers on the call.
This sounds better than the before.
button like this. And you try the diamond shape button. If you try to forward, like that's what happened. I tried to forward and actually it went to the beginning.
Just make sure she can hear. On this one. If you can hear. Deepika, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I'm able to do it without our I'll give you a thought about it. Okay, so your question about manual testing for code review. This is what we do for, we'll talk about black box and white box testing, and that's where we learn about how we use manual testing for code review. So let's talk about different types of manual testing. Acceptance testing, then you have your integration testing, your system testing, your unit testing. Now see, there's not functional testing involved here because that's a gray area. Functional testing is covered here between integration testing and system testing. And also functional testing is covered during acceptance testing. Plus, there is a part of functional testing that is done during automation. So, which is like about 20% of functional testing, which is done automation in most of the companies. But acceptance, integration, and system testing, these 3 things, they are part of your functional. So do you agree with me or not? It says anyone can do manual testing.
You have to have some skills for that.
Like what skills? What's that? What are testing skills? What are testing skills?
You know, like what kind of language you should write down.
Let's get independent of the software for a minute. Okay. Do you do testing in other walks of life, or do you just accept everything?
I should know the requirements for that. No, we basically test everything.
Everything, right? You go shopping, right? You pick up a dress and you say, didn't like it. That's your test case. Because you have something in your head that you're looking for, you do not find it, no matter how close the dress comes to. But it's not what you want, you will not take it. So that's your functional testing. That's your testing.
So those are my requirements.
Those are your requirements. No, not everybody can do it, because if you ask me, I'll go and pick up whatever I see the first thing. So no, I cannot do that kind of testing. I don't have those skills. I don't have those skills. It requires skills.
I think still it will need that exact kind of software for that product which is geared towards testing everything. So that it's not practical actually for every product or every program to write a software for that to
There
test
you go.
it, right?
Yes. See, I come from airline industries, and when you book the airfare, right, you can book any airfare. It's not possible. 100%. Mixed bag. Now, there's another myth that says testing is easy. Anybody can do it. Okay. Go ahead.
In order to do able to do automation, you have to master excluding millennium before you can start automation.
See, what manual does is it basically aligns your thought process, your skill set, and it makes your tester fun. Okay, what automation does is, whatever you are writing manually, then you start scripting. Okay, so that is basically the second step. Yeah. You have to know what you're doing before you want to write a script for it. Let's say like the simplest example of Google, right? I can use Google 10,000 different ways, whatever I want to use it. I want to search for how many people can write those test cases what I want to do. But what way to support, let's say, 50,000 hits per second. So you cannot generate 50,000 hits manually. Then you need a script. Now, you guys did your test cases, right, for that demo site? Was it easy? Yeah?
No, first of all, we don't know whether that's so because we have never seen real test cases what they look like.
Okay.
So this was like just like our own imagination.
Okay.
Like, okay, this is what it might look like.
Okay.
The previous template that we were sent during the toaster time,
Mm-hmm.
I decided not to go with it, just put it in an Excel. I told her also that let's just do it in Excel.
That's okay.
So there then we did not, I did not put those extra columns, what other stuff which I thought was okay to skip.
Mm-hmm.
I just did whatever. Did
Right.
you get a chance to look at it?
No, I did not, because we can
Okay.
review it at the end of the class here,
Okay.
all three of you.
Yeah.
See, I give a little template. Just template means in a table format. Test ID, test description, test name, test description. And is it like assigned to or open to, there was one more column at the end of it. That is the most basic form of test cases that you'll see. Because then you'll see what release number, what phase number, where did you find it, how can you reproduce it, everything. Okay, so this is the first step of seeing the test cases. And trust me, when you walk in any organization, you'll see these. There might not be anything. They'll just give you, this is the requirement document, go and write the test cases. So then you have to be imaginative. Okay, you start writing test cases before you even see the application. So just because based upon the pictures, you have to start writing your test cases. So you have to be imaginative. You have to be creative. It's not easy, but it's not difficult.
But I just kept on clicking on those and saw like what that page is showing. I just kept on writing on those.
It's good, but what I'm saying is at least you have a real website to test.
Yeah.
Most of the time, you just have a document. Yeah, you just have a document. Based upon this document, start writing your test cases. And we'll talk about all these models and everything. Like in V model, you start writing test cases when business analysts are writing their requirements. So their requirements are not even finished. One thing with automation is it saves time, it does save cost, a lot of manpower, because it's as simple as that. If you have used Microsoft Excel, there's a way where you can record your action, whatever you are doing in Microsoft Excel. It's called recording the macros, and then you can just reuse those macros over and over again. Yeah. You don't have to fill up everything in them. It's just filled up. So you don't have to sit down there and type and bring your logic, because the macro knows from this column, this row, you're going to the next cell. This is where your multiplication is happening. And it really it really comes handy when you're sitting with the kids to their homework.
Don't you have to write a formula for it?
Yeah, but it's just one-time case.
Yeah.
After that, you record that macro and you're done with it. Okay, now coming back to another, why do we need manual testing, right? As I said, you can write manual test cases even before you have the application ready. But if the application is not up and running, you cannot test it automatically. You have to have a stable environment in order to run automated testing. But if you have even the screenshot, you can do the manual testing. Now the third thing, manual testing can become repetitive and boring. I do agree with this statement, but only halfway. Okay. It is not boring, because what happens is you see, or if you remember one of the 7 principles, where the pesticide effect, if your test cases are not finding bugs, they are no good, throw them out and change them. So you're writing test cases over and over again. But yeah, sometimes it is monotonous, because you have only one application. How many different ways you want to do it? There's a limitation. So see, when we say it is not easy and I don't have these qualities, I do not have these qualities. I'm not patient. I want to do things now. I cannot wait. So that's why I'm saying I'm not a very good tester. Data you can compare expected and actual results and generate detailed test reports. The automation is very handy when you are generating automated reports. Like, lot of organizations, what they require is you do a lot of comparing and things when the system is idle, which is when people are sleeping. During the night time, there's a lot of calculations going on. In the morning, the higher ups, especially higher management, they want to see all these reports. So it's really important that these automated scripts get run during late hours, unusual hours, generate these reports, and in the morning it's ready for people to review it. Okay. Now, this is very important. Goal of automation is it to reduce the number of test cases, reduce the cost, but it cannot eliminate manual testing altogether. Any questions here? Okay, so let's talk about why automation testing. If automation testing cannot eliminate manual testing 100%, then why does it even need? So, even though we're working for Hitachi and we think it's the Japanese version of whatever software we have in English, but there are 3 different scripts. Okay, Kanji Talk, and some other two more. I forgot which were those. And those error messages, we have to test it. We were doing this project in India, and we had no idea how the Kanji Talk even script looks like. But the good thing is we had those automated test cases where we were able to match and just match the string. So this is how it is. Keep on going. So another thing that automation is important is you can run automated tests unattended, which is when humans are not there, not available, you can run them unattended. They increase the speed of test execution. They increase the test coverage. And this is the effect of, this is the effect of where code you're not paying much attention. That's a challenge for you. So now that brings us to like which test cases to automate. Okay, we have select 500 test cases. And we already know that we cannot eliminate manual intervention altogether. We cannot automate all 500 of those. So then you decide which test cases you can automate. Okay. So first is your business critical test cases. Okay. Depending on if it's let's say take an example of Dish Network or Comcast. Okay. Or any credit card application where you want to apply credit card. So what happens these things is you call up the customer service and you say, I want to get these services, right? I want to get a Comcast, I want to get high-speed network, I want to get TV and phone services. It's very easy because all you have done is you called up the customer service, you gave them the information, you run your credit check, and you give you whatever you want. But is it really that simple? No, because first of all, the customer service rep, he doesn't know who you are. Okay, so he has to verify that whatever information you are providing as you is valid or not. Right? Then he has to run a credit score. He has to find out whether you will actually qualify for this offer or not. Okay. Only after that, nothing will come in. And which is true on the websites also. You can go to a Comcast website and say, I want to apply for services and start filling up the information. System does not know who you are. Right? So again, system is to go and identify yourself. But all you see on that website is place where you can enter your personal information. It does not know whether I am actually Rajiv Saraswat or not. It has to go and identify. You don't know where it is identified. Right? That's where when we talked about the N layer, the security and everything comes into the picture because now it has gone and verifying you against third database. Okay, so for that, Comcast becomes a client and everything else is happening on the third party database, which is your credit scores, credit bureaus, your government side, social security contacts and all that. Okay. How do you test all these things? Because if you're working for Comcast, all you have is that one GUI in front of you, or one user interface, because that's where you'll go and type in the user's information. What happens after that? Can you control it? Can you test it? Yes. That's part of your application. Even if it's coming from third party, you have to find a way to test it. Right? How can you test it? That's where you the critical testing. So those areas these are high risk areas, which is where you are verifying personal information and things like that. Why am I so popular today?
Automated testing stuff, the architect will like it, right?
No, it depends. You cannot qualify that. You might have some test automation engineers, test automation framework engineers. They are writing it. Or if you know the Python script, if you know some Java scripts, you can write in Java language. But what it is doing in all intents and purposes is taking the information that you as a manual tester is entering on the UI. It is gathering that information, taking it to a third party, which is beyond your control. Okay. And then verifying it, running some test cases against it there, bringing it back whether you passed it or not.
So how much is the possibility of the automated testing having some flaws in it?
100%. Because those test cases are written by humans too. The logic is again a business logic, which is on business analyst writing. What happens is that US government has some portals. Okay, those portals have information about you and I. Okay, web social services portal. What happens on social services portals? You have your social service date of birth and basically your entire story is written. But government controls it. Okay, Bank of a service, a home service, without verifying who you are. So they have to come to these parties, these government portals. Okay, they have to run a credit bureau or a credit score on you. But they have some service agreement, it's called SOW, Statement of Work, the Service of Work. Okay, based upon that, they'll say, we'll get you like maybe 10,000 hits a day. Okay, and based upon those 10,000 hits, Bank of America or Comcast is paying these services. Okay, so you cannot even run more automated test cases than the agreed upon statement of work. Okay, and these test cases, they are executed repeatedly because no matter what you're testing on the front end, right? You're going and verifying it again. You're going and verifying on the credit bureau portal. So all these things, and you need to do a lot of these in a day. So all those kind of test cases, you can automate them, and you should automate them because there's no way you cannot go to to test something when you're actually working for Bank of America. That means you have multiple ideas now. So now they want to get more ways of requirements there. Right? When these requirements changes, the test cases based upon these requirements also change. Now there's no point in putting up all that effort for a fluid requirement to write automation test cases. Writing automation is not easy. It's more difficult than writing manual things because again, it's a black box thing. You're writing something that you don't know what the outcome is. All you see is at the end of it report. Yes, these many pass these things. So there are certain test cases that are done only ad hoc basis. Can you quickly test this for me? Okay, test cases, they are run even before the requirement. I can think of anything. but somebody needs to tell me whether it is possible or not. Right? So for those kind of test cases, as soon as the requirement comes into picture, the requirement or the business manager, the testing manager, they'll come to you. Can you quickly look into this, whether it's possible or not, whether we should spend time and effort on requirements or not? So those kind of test cases you cannot automate. Have to run them. Manual test cases, they actually come in handy during the development things are stable and things are up and running to see what are the available scope of automation. Always remember, this thing is the most important thing. Unless you define a scope, you cannot do anything, whether it's manual or automation. Right? And then writing automated test cases is as good as developing a software. You have to do plans, you have to be in the planning, design, and development phase. So it's a mini SDLC running right there. Now, anybody knows or remembers what the SDLC was? Software development life? How many phases?
Planning, and then designing,
Very good.
and development,
Very good.
and then in the end,
Testing. There you go. So, this is very good because for automated test cases, you also have to do testing. You cannot throw in your So before running an automated test cases, you have to manage testing. Everyone, you have seen this? So they'll come to you. They'll say like whether this tool is easy to use. Can you guys use it? So you have to say yes or no. Okay. What kind of scripting language is used? Okay. Can you support all these test cases? So these are generally some guidelines on how to select any tool. I mean, let me put it this way. Quality Center is one tool that is widely used in manual testing and automation testing. And because we are using quality center or application lifecycle management, that's how it is called now. That does not mean you're doing automation testing. It is still manual testing. Okay. But how do you select a tool? Anything. How do you select how do you even decide that, okay, I want to use Microsoft Excel or Microsoft Word, right? I give you a template in Word. You said you use Microsoft Excel. So how did you decide that you want to use Excel and not Word?
because it's more convenient.
There you go. Easy to use. If it's not easy to use, you will not use it. What I try to bring your day-to-day life concepts into your professional, right? So this is what testing is all about. Nothing is very critical. Is what you need to bring it. things. They make life so easy, right? Because just twist it, the can is open. If there's no can opener, how will you open the can? Right? You have to cut it open. That's complicated. That's wrong. Okay. Now, these are some of the best practices, no? Deepika, you have any questions there?
No, I think I'm fine.
You need a break too?
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
That's the advantage, right?
Okay. So these are the automation tools. We talk about Quick Test Pro or today. MS Word or Excel to write your test cases. You want to decide what kind of tools do you need to do the requirement traceability metrics. How will you know what is changed in the requirement? Right? Nobody can manually keep track of changes in the requirement because their test cases are depending upon that. What kind of test cases? What kind of tools do you need to store your test cases or execute your test cases? So it's not only automation testing that requires all these best practices. Even the manual testing requires these best practices. I think I should change it to automation/manual best practices. Okay. And see, the scripting standard is something that you don't need, thankfully, in the manual part. But there's another thing which is equivalent to scripting standard is your documentation standard. You have to follow certain set of documents, like certain standard of documentation in order to record your test cases, write your test cases. If you're not following your standards, what is the problem? Where is the pitfall? What will happen if you're not following the standards? What's that? Scope?
Yeah, how so?
It's ease of learning and ease of understanding, because the thing is, the retention ratio in software industry is very low. People come and go. Okay, so if I'm writing a test case and if I'm writing it my way, I'm not following any standard, people who are coming after me, those test cases are useless for them. They cannot even follow me. Like, I don't know what to say. Because a lot of times at my work, when people ask me to document something, I said my logic is with me. I don't know. I really don't know how to document things. So I'll narrate it to someone else and then they'll do that. I mean, I'm really bad in putting words to pictures. I don't have picture in mind. And you'll see, you'll be doing a lot of workflow diagrams. You'll see like case 10, all those logics. But they have to follow certain standards so that everybody who comes after you, can read it. It's not a wastage of effort, because if you have done something, once you move out of the company or move out of the project, that's a wasted effort. Because whoever coming after you has to redo all over again. Okay, and everything costs money. So everything boils down to cost, scope, and time. Okay, and yes, you need measurement metrics. You need how many test cases passed, how much time did we spend on testing any module, anything. And this is true, except the scripting standard which you can easily convert into documentation script, documentation standards. Everything is true for automation as well as manual. Okay. Because there's no human interest, you can run it whenever you want it, and nobody's looking at, nobody's entering things, nobody's doing the repetitive testing over and over again. You don't have to get bored, and that's why it's more efficient, more fast. You can cover wider test coverage of application features. It's reliable in results because why is it reliable in results?
Because human beings are not sitting and doing it.
But human beings are writing those scripts, right?
Yeah, but then they are tested after that.
Right, manual testing. Because of manual testing, these are reliable results. Somebody wrote the script, right? And then you verified it that these scripts are okay, they'll work, they'll give you the results that you need. Then you start using them. Why they are reliable in results? Because it is recorded, right? You are not entering the data again and again. So the mistakes that we do while entering the data are eliminated.
Mm-hmm.
So for it is working on the logic now. If you enter this, I'll do this. If you want to go north, say north, I'll go north. It definitely saves time and cost because you can run it at odd hours. One person can do a lot of scripting. It improves accuracy. Human intervention is not required. The efficiency is increased. Speed is higher. Test scripts are reusable, but so are test cases. They're all reusable. So the conclusion is right selection of automation tool, process, and team. So when we say, as soon as you see a team there, that means it's not 100% automated. Right? Because if it's 100% automated, there's no team. So let's go back to our manual test. Okay. We talk about these processes, right? These are the different types, right? Acceptance testing, integration testing, system testing, unit testing, white box, and black box. These are few of the very important types of testing, manual testing. Okay, you'll see more, but all of those can be, ballooned up to into one of these. So, one of the questions that you might face during your interview, have you done any unit breathing? Read the first
Yeah, like when the development is going
read the
on.
first point.
When the development is going on, then
Read it louder. The first point.
yeah. Unit testing of software applications is done during the development or coding of an application.
So the development team.
Yeah.
What happens is during development they have, let's say, 5 or 6 different units here. Okay. So you'll have unit 1, unit 2, unit 3. These are all, developer 1, developer 2, developer 3, they are doing it. But they are responsible for their piece of code. They are responsible to deliver a testable piece to you all. Okay. So unit test is always done by the developer. How they do that? Sometimes they'll manually do the test cases, borrow test cases from you depending on how your friendship is. Or sometimes they'll write some test cases. They also do automation. Most of the unit testing is done through automation. What they do is they write some Java source, and with the Java source they also write some test source. Okay, so they'll basically execute one-to-one. Each class they'll go and execute. What are the objectives of unit testing? It is to isolate the section of code. Using testing the most important thing that you're doing is talk about this in detail when we come to, there are two different approaches for testing any application on a figure screen. One is top-down. So basically you have the entire application and then you're bringing down to the atomic level, which is the unit. Or you have all the units and you're piecing the units together coming up the bigger picture. So it's called bottom-down. Those are two different types of techniques. Basically, whatever manual testing we are doing, it can be classified into either a top-down approach or a bottom-up approach, based upon how we want to do it. So what is from the unit, and we build those units together, go to the top, it's a bottom-up approach. And when we have the whole application and you're like, where is an issue? You know there's a problem, okay, but you're not able to identify it and you go top-down. So you have the bigger picture, you say like, okay, let's isolate, let's put some debug statement, this is done, oh, there it is. So you're breaking it down. Okay. So unit test is the first block in your bottom-up test.
Every time after writing some program and the coding people, they debug the program. That is actually a testing, right?
Yes. They're trying to find out what happened here. Where did I do wrong? And why they are doing debugging? Because they want to find a section of code. They want to see a section of code that has an issue. They want to isolate their program that is facing a trouble. Okay. So that's the goal of unit testing. You want to isolate each part of the program where the problem is. And it is both. It is automation and it is
This was QA decision. So why you ask that?
but no matter what anybody else is doing, they're buying a test kit. So,
analyzing all these definitions, but nobody asked for this. Yeah, you need to know what these terms are. Hey, you don't need to like specifically use the same language. Yeah. But see, you have said with memory when you asked that SDLC. I knew what SDLC is, but I didn't know those step-by-step initiation. I forgot about initiation. No, like, see, that's the important thing, right? You remember all the stuff. I have very bad memory, and I don't know what happened to me. I can't remember anything. So, for interview, they ask, you have to learn the definition. No, we don't need to learn anything. That's what you're saying. Nobody asked exact definition.
Nobody asked us the exact definition, but you better tell it.
You should know that. Yeah.
So,
first you have to pass through him.
so yes, normally, okay, first of all, in an interview, you might find many different kind of people. Some very nice people, some very mean people, some decent people. So basically we will be ready for whoever we see. The thing is about the definition, and we will talk about this in detail later, but and that's my style of taking an interview. I give a crisp definition first, and then follow up with a good example. So basically, it's basically shutting up the example and for example, if I have a log on screen, the log on screen is a single unit, but there is another thing, login registration. The log on unit is a single unit. I would like to test it independently so that if I enter correct user ID, correct password, test it. If it does not accept the password as required, like password needs sometimes alphabet, uppercase. Everything. So in the interview process, we will talk about like which definition you need to pick. Even in SQL, we will pick some of the definitions. Not everything can be defined in SQL because SQL is more analytical, analytics, like we analyze the data. But still, we will pick certain definitions. When somebody asks you, give all the crisp definition and then follow it. So definition we will do some of. Okay? But no worries, it comes slowly. We have a lot of time. Anybody wants coffee? No? Yeah, you don't have coffee drinker, right?
I'd like to do that.
Okay, so let's continue to talk on the. Okay. Deepika, you there?
Yes, I am. Is it module testing is same thing or is there any difference?
Module testing, component testing, unit testing, they are all same. The most common name for them is unit testing because that's the smallest atomic that's the the atomic level of program that you can think or name of. So now, as we said, unit testing, developers of the components, they do it. QA team does not do that. Okay. What you do in QA testing is you test for the data structure, you test for the program logic, you so component interface and then function. Actually, there is a function that just okay. I thought. What I think explain you the logic of the program because unless the program logic is clear on you, you're going to write the test case. Okay, so they have to explain what kind of APIs they are using, what is the business flow that they are considering, what are their actors and components in a program. They have to explain all those. And when they explain, that kind of, and after that, if you are writing your test cases and testing your application, that's called white box.
Isn't it buddy testing while the developer is explaining you all that and you are writing test cases?
Buddy testing is basically when
Hello? 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 Hello?
Deepika, can you hear us now?
Yeah, now I can do.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay.
So Deepika, you have not missed too much. There was a question from Sheetal that if we can talk about a real life example. Okay?
Okay.
So I was giving an example of like, let's say that there is a robot I'm writing a program for. So if it has to be white box testing, I will tell you as a tester that what this robot can do or would do, and you will test based on that. So I will tell you the logic of the program that the robot will first pick up the car keys. If car is there, he will start the car. Otherwise, he will have to run to the grocery store. If grocery store is open, he will buy the stuff. If it is not open, then he will go to the next grocery store, buy the stuff from there. If he's driving car, he will drive the car back. If he is not driving car, he will run back. There are a few conditions there, and you know the conditions. So now your testing will include all the test cases. So basically, in one test case, you will give him a car and test it. No, it's the other way.
Really?
Yep. You ordered things from Amazon, right? It get delivered. All you do is you just make sure that you are receiving whatever you ordered. End of the story. Right?
But then don't you have to write test cases in that, okay, if it is not available in the warehouse, then you go to the
That's
other
Amazon's
vendor.
problem.
No, but why would I be writing test cases for Amazon? Because people who work for Amazon.
Right. What you are writing test cases is, you said, this is my user interface. I want to buy the mentor. Test cases. It's available in supply you trust. Are you going to order it from there? Will it be delivered to you in your needed time and range? Right? How will the delivery happen if you're not home? Is there any special instruction for the delivery guy? That's all your part. It's on black box what Amazon is doing. But when you're working for Amazon, you need to build up those test cases saying it's not in the warehouse, then you go and search
If I'm
on
working for Amazon, then it will be white box.
No, okay, one second. No, it will not. First of all, philosophically, white box testing is more biased testing. More biased testing.
Bias is what?
In what way? Now you know actually what should it do. You will try to follow that
happy path. It's a happy path test.
Happy path. Because basically, it's human psychology. You will run by the happy path. So you will be biased. Okay, it should start the car or it should run. You know what should run. Black box. You don't know inside the logic. You don't know if programmer wrote that law. That's what you're testing. If he did it, he just performed it
Based upon what you ordered. Right? So the requirement document is as simple as one line which says, has the robot delivered my grocery? As per the grocery.
Absolutely. Requirement is basically, in both cases, what is input, what is output. What is input, what is output. It's the requirement.
Simple.
Now
Nothing is not
inside, how does the programmer write? If he cares about testing all the paths, happy paths, and as well as non-happy paths, then he will ask you to do white box. And sometimes they do. If it is critical, they will. But otherwise, they will care about, my requirement is this is you delivered to the box, this is outcome of the box, this is all you need to do. What I do inside, this is my responsibility. If something is not happening, it's my code, it's my defect. These are the defects out there. And that's most common. But yes, you're right. Human need feels like white box should be more accurate, but no, it's not right. It's fine.
And all these sites have only automated testing. Because they're already built.
No.
No?
It's always a combination of both automated and manual. But again, I think you still have doubts on
I'm not
white box.
convinced. Yeah,
So
I am not
what
convinced.
happens is, suppose your program is right there, right? Your programmer is walking you through the logic, and he says, I'm testing. Let's take Neeraj's example. He says, I'm testing your robot is, either driving or walking. So you'll say like, okay, fine. You'll write test cases. What will happen when he's driving? You'll write test cases. What will happen when he's walking? Because you know the logic. You're testing those two times. Okay. You try to limit your test cases. You're going to write test cases for each and everything. But I'm doing a black box testing. And I said, it's robot's responsibility. This is my input. Go get me the delivery. Now, you are basically assigning the task of making a decision by that robot what is the fastest way and most accurate way of getting your groceries and coming back? You might take a public transport, which the developers never talk to you about, and you never thought about it. But when you're in the black box testing, you have to think outside of the box. You have to make sure that you'll cover all the scenarios, you'll cover all the avenues.
Right. So you might miss some certain case cases here because the white box is driving your thought process. For example, road is closed. You will not write that in your white box because you are writing happy box.
So any particular can be either done by Python or it can be done.
Yes.
Okay, it's just a way of
It's a way of that. And basically it is favored because it's considered to be unbiased.
okay.
And you will write more robust cascade within this because you are not being.
Yeah, because it forces you to think about all
Yes.
the possibilities which otherwise.
Black box basically forces you to think outside of the box, whereas white box basically limits you to the box.
Now convinced, right?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. We found out that.
So after
I imagine your robot running everywhere. So.
he's running through the construction
Last
zone.
night my son was watching some robot movie. Oh my God, about a small 11-year-old boy making a robot and going for this boxing tournament. It was very scary movie.
Yeah.
So I had that robot fresh in my mind. I was imagining your robot going everywhere.
All right. So what is the next block after unit test?
All
You
these
try to
units are-
you try to integrate those units together, and it becomes the integration testing. So all your individual software modules, they're integrated and they're logically tested as a group. Okay, integrated logically and tested as a group. So now you're coming to a bigger picture, how your application is behaving or going to behave as one cohesive unit. Okay. The challenge in integration testing is there are different developers. Sometimes they're separated geographically. People are working in China, people are working in US. They're working on different modules. The challenge is to integrate those. The coding style is different. Their commenting style is different. You have to bring everything together and then you make sure that the functionality is working or the application is going end to end. Okay. Now this is the what you call the philosophy or the logic behind integration testing. INT testing or string testing. String testing, it also comes to the same wireframe where it's a continuation. Okay, it's string. There's no break. The application has to work from end to end before you can go into integration. Now, let's stop and think here. Who does integration testing? Prominently developers. Okay, because this is again the code is integrated. Okay, so they are still in the development phase, but they have integrated everything. They want to make sure that before they hand it over to QA, it is integrated and it is working as a cohesive unit. Once they make sure that it is done, then only they'll throw it over the wall. If for any reason integration is not as expected, it's not generating the functionality as expected or as required, there's no point in investing QA resources. Okay.
So won't it be like if one team is in Bombay, in India, and one team is here, they are doing one unit, another unit. The tester will have to be integrated, which are
No.
connected. Okay, these two units are connected. Still the developers will do it.
See, what happens is there's a workflow. Okay, the workflow goes from dev team. Once their integration is done, then they integrate. After this, there's a third party that comes into picture, which is called build engineer? Build engineer is not a developer. Build engineer is not a QA person. It's independent entity, third party. What build engineer does is, once the code is integrated, they'll take the integrated code and they'll again compile it, they'll build it, they'll make sure that's a stable piece of code. And after build engineer, development. Because they want to make sure that the code is testable now. Even if it's compiled, what guarantee is whether it's working or not. So that's where your smoke tests come into picture.
But if second developer, then
Integration. Again, it's developers. Once the smoke test passes, then only QA comes into picture. But again, depending on this is the happy path or the ideal scenario. Sometimes what happens is the resource crunch. Okay, either you are running short on time or money. You don't have enough resources money-wise or time-wise. So then you pull some QA resources into integration testing. You say, help us with either writing your test cases or, walk us through your test cases so that we can execute.
So the actual integration is still done by the developer. As you said, like if it is like geographically dispersed team, the integration will be responsibility for one of the side, one of the developers. So integration will be done by the developer, but the integration testing after the multiple units have been integrated into one cohesive system, they will be tested by the QA after steps have done their testing. So basically they do unit testing and then they send it for system testing.
No, they do unit testing, they do integration testing, they'll build it, and again they'll do the smoke testing, and then they'll send it to QA.
QA for integration testing.
Yeah, and the QA will do its own smoke testing, and then QA will pick up those functional system integration and what we testing. When QA does the testing, it's called system integration testing. Functional testing or system integration, or system testing. Any questions here?
Deepika, you can hear nice and clear, right?
Yes, I can hear.
All right. And I think I did tell you that if you don't hear us or don't see us or not see the slides moving, write in the chat window.
So this is just remember this thing. Always keep reminding yourself, especially during the interview time. They might ask you, and these things are just to confuse you, keep you on your toes. Who does integration testing? Who does unit testing? What kind of smoke testing do you do? Okay, when do you do smoke testing? All those kinds. So we'll talk about smoke testing also. Unit testing is always done by developers. But because it's asked in the interview of a QA tester, you can say, yeah, they do it, but sometimes they borrow my test cases. I'm informed. Same is true for integration. Development team does it, yeah, they borrow my test case. So now this is the integration test. The first thing is your units are tested together. Okay. Because sometimes what happens, you're trying to fix a bug or you're trying to fix a defect which you found out during your unit testing, but you don't know whether this class will open a security hole in somebody else's unit. Right now, I'm working with my tunnel vision. So this is my unit. I want to make sure that my work is done. Okay. Always remember, I is the most important letter in English.
And most users know. Like there is a survey that I is the most used letter in the entire English. Yeah.
It's I, you, and they. So I would do I.
It's I. Come on.
The team, me. Yeah, you said we should use we instead of saying I.
Yeah, when there's a problem.
Okay. No, no.
We missed it.
When there is problem, they.
When there's a problem, we miss it. When you solve it, I solve it. Because end of
After that, you'll come to know, oh, but there was still a problem after that.
No, that's fine. I have solved it. Okay. End of the day, we is not getting paid. I is getting paid. So the performance of I is very important. And there's no we if there's no I.
So when I integrate I, it becomes we.
Yeah.
All right.
So now where's the focus here? Focus is that whatever I am writing in my unit and testing it and making sure that my unit is working fine, I'm not opening a security hole in your unit. Okay. And how will we find it? We'll find it when we test it together. So that's the focus of integration testing. Whether the unit as one whole big picture is working end to end or not. Okay. So here you're working on a subsystem level, you're working on interface and interaction between them, you are integrating the resources, you're integrating the environmental factors. You are, sometimes what happens is my unit will be calling your unit and your unit will be calling the database, right? You are working on a database connectivity piece, whereas I'm working on a user interface piece. Unless I integrate with the data piece, I don't know how my user interface will behave with the data or how it will interact with the data. So that's the main purpose of doing integration testing. It can be either done by developers or test engineers. Test engineers only come into the picture when you're talking crunch of resources. So if you're running short on time, something is, your project is behind on schedule, then they'll try to pull up all the resources or admin resources. The bottom line is, if somebody asks you, have you done integration testing and you're applying for a QA analyst, your answer should be, not really, but in one scenario, I've done it.
Yeah, it should not be part of your regular role, but you should be able to say that I have done something.
Now, in the unit test, right, we're seeing there's one input and there's one output. Okay. But here you see there is one input. Okay. Then here there's see, the arrow is going both ways. Okay. So you're talking between two components, and then your interface is one, or your output is one. So this is the main thing that you're trying to test here. The connectivity between two units. This is your forte, functional validation. This is where the QA actually comes into action. The focus here is, now you're talking all about system here, right? You're talking about the bigger picture. Is it like, what is the system input output? What is the system function of information data? Your interface is external parts. Now if you talk about Google, right? When you go to search something which is on Government of India website, Google will go and search it, it will find it. But that's where your interface with the external parts are coming. Or that's where the interface that we're talking about, the web services, comes into picture.
And a good example for this one, like for the system interface with external part is, even our website is integrating with Google search engine. So Google needs to make sure that external parties or even parts can use Google with the same efficiency. So if you go to Unity, you will see that there is a search box there, and that's integrated with Google. So that's the external part.
So how does it work? Like when you make your own website, you have to approach Google and make yourself available in their search engine, and also you want to use their search engine.
Answer is, we don't approach them, but we they tell us in some way that's how you integrate to us.
Okay.
They publish it. And Alok is going to talk about it.
Okay.
How the interface happens, and I'll give out the buzzword here, and let Alok explain it. It's called the web services.
Oh, he was just talking about web services.
Okay. So Alok will talk in more detail, but they provide us web services, they publish it, and then you can go and use that. You have to connect.
So this is our interface with Google.
Yep, you can see that. You can save Google there.
Yeah. And also other way, right? If I go on Google and look for engineering, then this website will also be one of your other options.
No.
Again, you're going into white box. You want to know the problem.
Yeah, because we don't provide Google.
No, I'm talking from a user point of view.
No, for user point
If
of view.
I can't find your website, okay? If I don't know your class, I'm looking for a class, but a friend of mine told me that
Google has some logic which basically is a commercial logic. Okay, it depends on what kind of money you're thinking.
yeah, that's why I said
That's where it will come on the
both ways, right?
Yeah, that's where it will come. Interface with Google is their custom provided. They'll say, here, take it, use it. It's free. But how our website will feature on Google, it depends on what tier we are paying.
So if I pay them, they will have a
Connecting
back to me.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's just the data. If you do a normal search for any website, just data will do, but it's not interface.
Because I didn't know it was engineering projects right in the beginning before the class started, and I kept on putting engineering something else. So many other engineering
Yeah. It took me 2 years. Okay.
Continue.
So after unit and integration testing, now we start testing the functionality of the system. It's integrated, it's delivered to QA. What you're going to do? You talk about functionality. So you start validating the use case or the requirement. So the most important thing is now it is based upon requirement. Okay. Before that, if you realize, all we were talking about is this is the component integration testing, and this is the this is in the design and implementation of the component. So we were all talking about components right now before coming into function validation. Now you're talking about the requirement. Okay, whether now you start looking into expected results and results. Okay. So the keyword here is your operation and function behavior. Okay. Now you'll start going into your system behavior, your performance testing, your user interfaces, your system interface with external parts. And Google is not really a good example because there is a lot of unknown in Google when we talk about third-party interface. But think about Comcast or any credit card application, because that's where you have to go and talk to government portal, you have to go and talk to credit bureaus. And those are all third parties, right? But your interface is defined at the design level. That is defined on how many hits your company is allowed per day on these portals. So how many test cases you can run. And because these third party portals, they are unknown to you, that's why the web services comes into picture. Now here what you're looking at is there's a user, okay? You're pretending that there's a user. Your input is user interface, and what is your output, which is your expected results or end results. Now what is system testing, right? It is testing of the systems, testing of the software component of the system. You're not testing your servers in your database, you're testing your system, product that you're delivering. That is called system testing. How it is interfering, or how does it interface with other software, hardware systems? How does it interface with any third party? What is the impact on, going up and down on the system configuration? Your
workstation configuration, what kind of user interface you are using, what if you are using IE, Firefox, Safari, Chrome, what impact is there. So those things are coming into your system. Sometimes your user interface or your user machine is, whether it's a 32-bit machine, whether it's a 64-bit machine, what is the CPU speed, how much memory is available. And when you go and buy a laptop, you focus on whether it's Windows 7, Windows 8, what is the CPU, Core i5, i7, i3, okay, what is the memory requirement. Why do you need that kind of configuration? And if you go on sites like Dell.com, where they allow you to configure your own system, they'll clearly tell you that these graphics are needed if you want to play some games on it. This is a basic browsing. Okay. That's because the complicated systems, like your video games and everything, they require high resolution, they require high CPU speed. So your system should be strong enough to handle those. Okay, you can buy whatever system, but do they guarantee their software will run on them? No. They say this is my system requirement. Because they are testing to work between those scopes. They said, we worked on 4 gigabyte memory RAM. We worked on a 64-bit CPU configuration. We worked with Windows 7. We used IE8. So we do not support anything which is under IE8. Those kind of limitations or disclaimers you see on these websites or on the product, best to work with, because that's what they have spoken. So that's what they have tested. And system testing is the most important type of testing you guys will be doing. System testing, functional testing. Okay. This is where your system software is tested as a whole. You're not into units anymore. You want to go end to end. If you're testing a banking website, you want to go end to end. You want to go right from login into accessing and checking an account, accessing and saving an account, doing some transfers there, maybe applying for a mortgage. Everything that you need to test. Whatever the scope of it. If you're doing just unit testing, maybe half of the team is testing about database connectivity, the other half is just making sure that your website works in the flow. So if I click next, this is the page I'm going to. But you're not inputting everything or anything which is talking about the database. But when you're in system testing or functional testing, that's where the whole picture comes into. One more thing which is important in system testing is you're doing a system reliability and recoverability test. So what happens, and this is the most easiest thing you've seen on especially Microsoft, right? You are on any particular application like your IE or Word, right? Suddenly it crashes. The next thing you see is it crashed, send a report or don't send a report to Microsoft. Because Microsoft, what it is doing is it is basically asking you to test its product. And when you send that report, it tells what you were doing right before it crashed, so that they can build up some new test cases. You there, Deepika?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Isn't that beta testing? Like user?
No.
Okay.
Beta. You're right. Beta testing is what it is, but what those recovery tests or reliability or recoverability tests is, it basically prepares the system for some unseen test scenario. Like say, I'm using Microsoft Word for too much graphics, which Word is not able to support. It will crash. Okay, and then next thing I'll see a pop-up saying your Microsoft Word stopped unexpectedly. We generated a report. Do you want to send it to Microsoft? And then there are send and do not send. But what's happening there is basically what Microsoft did, it ran a system test or recovery test right on your system saying this is what you were doing right before it crashed. And want to know so that I can build these test cases in the next week. So if you send them, they'll have this information for the next week. If you don't send them, don't send them. That's not beta testing. What beta testing does is, they'll say, here is my beta version of Windows 7. Use it. Let's see what happens.
That's like a free version.
It's a free version. Okay, it's called beta testing, gold testing, but that's not recovery or recoverability testing. Recoverability is how your system behaves in adverse conditions. If Word is not supporting all those heavy graphics and I'm trying to store them, it will crash. But it will crash only after reaching a threshold. So Microsoft wants to know what was that threshold. Okay. Now,
So all these are manual testing? Hello?
recovery test?
No, there's unit, integration, and system testing. All these are manual, or it can be both?
It can be both. Especially unit testing is mostly automated, less manual, but integration testing is more manual and less automation. During system testing, again, depending on what kind of tests you want to run on it, if it's a load, a stress or a load test, it's automated. If it's functionality testing, it's manual testing.
And in theory, you should be able to automate everything, but in practice, like in all practicality, you cannot 100% automate. So basically, system test, integration test, you should be able to automate everything, but you cannot automate everything.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Right? Yeah.
There's no, there's nothing called 100% automation. There's nothing called 100%.
Yeah.
The recoverability and reliability testing, obviously. So you don't need to.
You don't have to think
Remember
too much
the
about
email,
it.
okay.
You don't have to remember too much about it. But
You should
what
just
happens
know
is,
that it exists.
see, the thing is, again, interview process. Yeah. We cannot put a thumb there, or we cannot put our finger on the process saying this is what they're going to ask and this is what they're going to ask. Okay. But we want to be prepared for a situation where you should be able to talk. You should be able to talk, not right and close to being right. But again, during interview process, always remember, I do not know is a perfect answer. Because what it is doing is, when you say I do not know, if you do not know and you say I do not know, it is saving you from the embarrassment of giving a wrong answer and thereby proving that you do not know two things.
Yeah. That's very well.
So I do not know is perfectly okay. After 17 years into IT, do I know everything? No. But maybe the interview knows something more than me and he will say, like, do you know this? No. But what we are doing here is we are getting prepared. We prepare ourselves that if we do not know, we are ready to learn. So, again, when we test a software, right, if it is not testable, we cannot test it. Same goes with the humans. If they are not teachable, we cannot teach them. What we are doing here is making you teachable. Okay. So now let's talk about smoke testing, right? So we talked about the workflow, right, where the developers, they have done their unit testing, then they have done their integration testing. Now they're ready to give the software to QA team for that test. Can they just, like, bring few pieces together and throw them over the wall and ask you to test it? It's not testable. You cannot test it. So, and now if you're trying to test something which is not testable, you're basically wasting resources and costs into money. You're wasting money on the process. So what the most important responsibility of communication between development team and testing team is A, smoke testing, B, QA turnover meeting. In QA turnover meeting, I think last class we talked about QA turnover, where they talk about scope,
of what they're delivering. They want to make sure that there's enough communication between dev team and QA team of what are you supposed to test, what are you not supposed to test, if there's any open defect and all those things. So once the integration happens, the development folks, they'll make sure after doing their smoke testing that the piece of software that they're giving to the QA team is testable. You cannot test a website which is not even coming up. If you type say bankofamerica.com and if you say apology, error 404, page not found. No matter how beautiful the website is, you cannot see it, you cannot test it. So that's where smoke testing comes. What is smoke testing? What is smoke testing? It is the minimum testing done to make sure that the application is tested. So you probably spend maybe an hour, mostly 2 hours on any application. Whether it is testable, showstopper, critical bug, go and fix it.
It will always be done obviously to the developer.
It's done by both.
Okay, yeah.
It's basically right before the handshake.
It is actually the handshake. What we do is developers, they'll do the smoke testing. They'll save themselves from the embarrassment of throwing something over the wall which is not tested. So they want to make sure. And then when you accept it, right, when you go to the bank, you give a $20 bill to the bank saver and say, give me quarter of it. So they'll count it, they'll give it to you, but you also want to count it. Right? So that counting is a smoke testing. Okay? You want to get some bills, right? The bank teller will count in front of you, but after that they'll say, can you count them again? That is a smoke testing because they want to save the embarrassment of giving you less change or more change. That is true in day-to-day life. That is true in testing.
So they integrate, they smoke test it, they hand it over, you smoke test it again, and then you start.
Yeah, you count your change again. Yeah. Right?
According to what is in the control.
So is this system testing?
It is the minimum testing that is done in order to make sure that the system is testable.
Okay.
It's not exactly the system testing, but it is done before the system testing.
Before any detailed functional or regression.
Right.
So you don't spend a whole lot of time, but you quickly do it and say, okay, fine, we'll test it. And after that, you start finding bugs and things. Okay, so see, this is the main purpose right here. The purpose is to reject a badly broken application, so that you don't waste any time on it. That is the whole philosophy of smoke testing. It is done before any detailed functional testing, and the main purpose is to reject anything which is broken.
But then if they have anyway done the integration testing, the developer, then why do they need to do this? Is functional
Beautiful
testing.
question. No, let's focus on that. That's a very beautiful question. I'm so glad you're thinking on that. What happens is, in any work environment, there are controlled work environments and then there are uncontrolled work. All the development work environments, they are uncontrolled. That means anybody can come make change quickly and do that. Now what happens in a development integration test? I am responsible of my unit. I made sure that my unit is working fine. But when the integration happens, something is broken at my end. Maybe I'm not able to receive the other interface, or maybe I'm not able to deliver my interface to somebody else. My unit is broken. That is breaking the whole integration. What I can do is, I can quickly go into the system, fix it, and repeat. Nobody will know. It's uncontrolled. Any of the development team can come and fix it. But when it goes to the QA, it has to be controlled. It has to be stabilized. Right? I cannot, as a build engineer, I cannot take a fluid piece of code, build it, and release it. Okay. Now comes the second part of it. The development system
for the environment that they're running, it's different than the QA environment. Okay. Maybe QA has different data set. Okay. Maybe QA has more data than integration. So during the integration testing, you are not able to hit those part of databases which are unavailable to you. So even if your smoke testing in the development environment is passive, it does not work well with the QA environment. Let's talk about the Comcast one more. So when the integration testing is happening on the development side, they have access to like not the whole set of the government portal or the security of the credit agency's portal, but they might have a dummy portal within the system within our own company, and we say like this part will act as government portal, this part will act as credit agency, credit bureau portal. Because when we have our own system, we don't have to pay any money anymore. But when the QA comes into picture, you are running your web services, you are running those services against actual data. And that's where the interface fails. Okay? You're not able to communicate outside of the firewall. You're not able to communicate, through different domains. These guys never tested it. They have their own little system somewhere. So as soon as you hit those third parties, you start getting HTTP 404 system not found.
But then why are those things not made available for these people?
Money. Everything you have to pay for, right? If you want to talk to the third parties, you want to talk to government portals.
No, you're anyway going to do it for the QA people, right?
Right, but what happens is QA people, these are controlled environments. So you say during the day, course of the day, 24 hours, I will be hitting Experience portal or government portal 10,000 times. Okay. Developers, they are monkeys. Okay. No, seriously.
Yeah,
They can.
we call ourselves monkey.
They'll do their little piece of code and they'll say, okay, I'm ready to test it. They don't even know whether their unit is going to hit some third party or not. Thereby, there are some legal repercussions, there are some license requirements. So that's why development, that is totally out of the picture. If there's a third party interface, development team is not talking to them. Because we want to limit the restriction. There is self-restriction. Everything is licensed. Okay, everything company has to pay for it.
So even when those, what engineers were those?
Build engineers.
Build engineers, they also don't get access to...
As a build engineer, it's totally black box for us. We don't know what development is doing. We don't know what QA is doing. Development says, here is our piece of code. These are our instances. Can you build it? Okay, we'll take it, build it.
Build engineer is basically just a packager. Yeah. He just packages. He does not know what is programmed, what needs to be tested, what is required.
You go to Giant, right? You buy groceries. And there's someone at the end of the belt. What he's doing is taking your groceries, putting them in the bag. He doesn't know what is going in the bag. He doesn't know how much you paid for that. So that's a build engineer. He doesn't care. That is the importance of smoke testing. And that is why smoke testing is done twice. One, they want to make sure, because they'll come and argue.
So now in smoke testing, when the developers are doing it, they're still doing it without all those things.
Without
all the
connecting to third parties?
That you were
Yes.
So then again it is same as integration.
It is integration testing.
Okay.
It is integration testing, but it is subset of integration. Okay, you do not do the whole set of it. Sometimes there's an argument between dev and QA. They're like, oh, it was working in our environment. Why is it not working here? Well, because you did not connect to these third parties that I'm connecting to. So then you take it back.
So is it fair to say that the smoke testing, highest chance of smoke testing failing is because of the environment?
Yes. Yes. The maximum chances why the smoke testing is failing, especially in the QA part, is because the development, they never connected to those third parties. Even like for an internal application, the amount of data provided to QA is totally different than the amount of data that we provide for them. Because even if it's internal, it's us, but we are paying to store that data. We don't want to store the same data in 4 or 5 different places because we are paying for it. IBM, say for example, it comes and manages the data for us. And it charges based upon each microprocessing unit or something. So even if one little calculation, IBM is charging us. So we don't want to expose all the data to developers. But when you come into the QA side, that's why we have SIT environment, which is System Integration and Testing environment. Then we have UAT, User Acceptance, which is a bigger database. So you are paying more for a UAT than you are paying for SIT. And then you have the dev environment.
Because there is this limited 10,000 times that you can access some particular portal,
Mm-hmm.
will there be pressure on the QA team to
No.
not do it that much?
Mm-hmm. No.
Right?
No.
Something like that.
No. See, what happens is, again, it's a top-down approach. Okay. So as a capacity planner, somebody else sitting outside of your domain is planning this whole capacity. Okay. So they come up with this magic number saying, fine, if we run, say, 10,000 test cases in a day, we'll be hitting these portals 15,000, 20,000 times a day. So that's how our statement of work will be, which is our understanding between these companies, that we'll be hitting your portal so many times in, let's say, 50 cents per hit or whatever. Okay? So the capacity planning is done somewhere outside of your domain. You will be asked, make sure that you run only so many tests.
How this smoke testing is different from functional testing?
For smoke testing, actually you have to step out of the building because you cannot smoke in the building.
No, I mean smoke testing is done by developers and the other one is done by engineers and QA. Is that the difference? Because both are checking functionalities of the program.
Okay, that's good. No, there's no difference. But what is there's only one difference. You want to do that the critical functionality of the program is working fine. That's what you try to set up during smoke testing. It is a subset. So if this is your whole test cases, this is what the smoke testing looks like. All you're doing is trying to find out if the critical functionality is working. So maybe if you have, let's say, 10,000 test cases for any function or any application, you'll probably run maybe 200 test cases during smoke testing. But those 200 test cases, they should be carefully picked up because you want to make sure that you touch only on the critical functionality. So if it's a credit card application website, then you should be able to generate those web services which will go out and talk to other services. You should be able to accept all the user interfaces, all those kind of things. So, and the most important thing is you should be able to bring up the application. If you cannot bring up the application, you cannot test it. See, look at the last or the second bullet here. In smoke testing, the test cases chosen covers the most important functionality. It does not cover the whole set of functionality. So let's say if there's a user interface where you're supposed to put your social security number, and it has to be a numeric figure, a numeric field. But if you can put in like ABC, should be okay. Your smoke test should not bother about it. Because when you come into your detailed testing, then you will say like, oh, it is accepting some bad data. So that's a bug. Smoke testing should not cover it.
So
But
it's a small one.
no.
It's just
Smoke testing,
in the big picture, it's just working.
can I able to bring up my application? Can I navigate on my application? It's fine. Does this answer you, Deepika?
Pardon?
Does that answer you?
Oh yes, thank you.
Now there's smoke testing and then there's a thing called sanity test. Again, smoke test, sanity test, they are all subsets of functional testing. They are functional testing, but they are not the entire picture of functional testing. Okay. Now what happens is, sometimes you get the re-release of the software. Right? You in the first release you found 15 bugs. And then you gave it to the dev folks and go ahead and fix them, bring them back. After 3 days or maybe on next Wednesday, they'll come and say, here it is, we delivered the 15. So you'll test for 15. Okay, but what will happen? What is the guarantee that those fixes did not introduce some more bugs. Okay. So that's what is sanity. You want to make sure that the craziness is not fixed. Okay, whatever you fix did not introduce something new.
Basically, in this also you will have to go back and do everything again.
Yes, that's called regression testing.
So is this regression testing too?
What's that?
Is this called regression testing too?
No. What Sheetal was asking is, do we have to go back and rerun the whole test cases? And I said yes, but that is covered under regression testing.
Okay.
Okay. See, smoke testing is a subset of functional testing, but sanity testing is a subset of regression testing. See, if sanity test fails, the build is rejected to save time and cost involved in a more rigorous testing. What is regression testing? I just told you.
All the details again you have to go through. All the test cases you have to
You want
run.
to make sure the test cases that you run in order to make sure that the fixes have not introduced new bugs or fixes have not broken something else. Say suppose on a
But only if you run the test cases you will know that, right?
Of course, you have to run the test cases. So let's take the example of the social security issue, right? It should be a numeric figure, numeric field, right? So you should be able to enter numbers. But what if it is also accepting alphabets? Right? So you say this is the part. Now, what the developer did is like, okay, quickly he'll come in to fix that social security field. But what he did is he also fixed the first name or last name field, where if you say Robert Griffin the third, that means third is a numeric, and now the first name and last name stopped accepting numeric. So that means his fixes in social security introduce something in the name box. You want to make sure. The objective is not to verify thoroughly the new functionality, but to determine that the developer has applied some sanity while producing this software. Okay, it's not like I'll quickly see. I'll tell you the mentality of developers. They always go for quick and dirty fixes. Literally, there's a term, quick and dirty. That means I'm doing it, but yeah, I just wanted to get it over. If it introduces something new, it's your job to do. So that's what you're trying to make sure. So that will bring us to regression testing. What is regression testing? What kind of test cases you execute in regression testing? Do you write something new for regression testing, or for regression testing? What is regression testing? You can read it from the book.
When they will introduce the second phase, so you need to check whether there is more bugs.
See, the purpose of regression
Triggered
testing.
because of the previous.
Yeah, read it from the book. Read the first bullet loudly, loud and clear.
The purpose of regression testing is to confirm that the recent program or code change has not adversely affected existing features.
That's right. As I told you, developers they believe in quick and dirty work. So they give you build one where you are supposed to run 10,000 test cases to whatever fine. You found 200 bugs or 20 bugs. You said go ahead and fix them. And then they're like, okay, build 1.1 where they have given you fixes for those 20. Now what is the chances that these 20 fixes will not break what you've already tested? So that guarantee or that warranty is your regression.
But then you don't need to do the 10,000 again, right? You will do whatever you think has possible connection with these things or which are close to it, physically close to it in the.
Good, but that brings me one more question, which is very important. I wanted to ask you this. How do you make sure? Where do you get this idea that, okay, he fixed this, but he broke something else? What is the connection? No idea. Something called requirement. There's something called requirement traceability metric. Right? We have been using this term over and over again, and we'll talk about it. What happens there is there's one requirement. The requirement can be, let's say, we talked about the robot example, right? My requirement was the robot should be able to go get my groceries and deliver them quick and accurate. That's my requirement. Okay. But this will give you so many test cases. And all these test cases are related. No matter how different they are, no matter how many logic here they are all tied up at the head. That's requirement. They all have to fall in that one category. What will happen if my requirement itself changes? You have to change so many tests. When my requirement changes and the developers have to do me another build because of the change in requirement, I have to do regression testing on all these test cases. I have to rewrite all these tests. Now, there's another scenario where the requirement stays the same, okay, but one of the scenarios is broken. What if there's a roadblock? What if there's a construction? What do you expect the robot to do then? And then you find the bug in that. So you report it back to the customer. They fix that part. Okay, it says roadblock. Okay, and you say maybe there's a construction. The road is blocked because of construction. And the developers wrote the test case. But you want to test a scenario where road is partially blocked because of an accident. What will your robot do? Will it fail? You have to test it. So that's the regression. Basically, fixing of one functionality should not break the other functionality of the same requirement. So you have to test all the test cases that are tied at the hip with the same requirement, which is coming from your requirement. Okay. So maybe they are fixing one bug in one of the test cases, but you have 26 of test cases. So you have to run all 26. That is your regression.
So basically all related tests.
Yes.
And is it fair to say that regression-based testing is, in most cases, is an automated testing? In most cases?
Because we are changing.
It's your requirement, it's your test case. Mostly. Unless that requirement is like say a load or a system, or like system as in system component testing, okay, which cannot be done manually. Okay. Mostly. Now always remember one thing: executing a test case in quality control, quality center, does not qualify it being an automated test. Execution of a test case in quality center does not qualify the test case being an automated.
Yeah, because some human has to fit
Yes, you are executing it. You can be smart enough to write a script that just goes and execute the test case in quality center. But
it is manual.
It is manual. See, this is the most important part of this. Your old code still works once the new code changes. That's the basic philosophy of regression.
Then what's the difference between sanity and regression testing?
Let's see. If this bigger picture is regression testing, this is sanity testing. It is similar to what your functional testing and what your smoke testing is to your functional testing, is what your sanity testing is to your regression testing. Before you accept any new code changes to your defects or bugs, you have to make sure that the critical functionality of that particular fix is working before you start testing.
Would it be fair to say that sanity testing will mostly be for happy paths, while regression will be for all paths?
Smoke testing and sanity testing, they are all for happy paths.
While regression testing and system testing is detailed testing.
Everything.
All possible tests.
Can you again explain that happy path?
What is happy path? What is happy path?
That's what I'm asking you. I don't know that.
Think.
Easiest and quickest way of doing it.
No, happy path means everything
According
passes.
to you.
Happy path means that everything passes.
That is a quick and dirty way of doing it. What developers do.
Kind No, not exactly, but yes. So happy path is basically, I'm hoping everything will go as expected.
So now can
If
you
I
again talk about, so now that we understand happy path, what you just said, 2 sentences about the connection of,
Always test the happy.
okay.
So now what
You
happens?
expect the best,
Yeah.
positive.
Yeah.
Everything is-
So you're sitting in this room and you're expected to go out of the building. What is the happy path? Happy path is this door is open. There is enough directions to take you to the next exit. And at the exit it says loud and clear, this is the exit. The door is open. Exit out of the building. So your happy path testing is all my exits are labeled, signed. There is enough clear directions. Doors are open. So that's what you're testing in your smoke and sanity testing. What is the whole testing? What about if the door is closed? Then what you do? What are your directions? So those are your entire testing. You guys want to take a break for lunch or something? Sure.
Actually, I've noticed in the last 2 classes, after the break, I get very sluggish. Then I can't concentrate.
No, after the break, as soon as you're done, we're going to talk about your test cases. So I'll be sitting there and you'll be standing up here.
Okay.
So,
No, sir, are you going to finish this alphabet?
Yeah.
I think only 2-3 things.
Right,
No,
there's-
like, if you think so.
there are a few things, not much left. So,
Yeah, let's finish it and then we can.
okay.
Oh, there was a remodel. Oh, there.
Let's talk the models and everything after the break. Well, it's almost 1 o'clock. Let me take a little break. But let's finish all the type of testing and then we'll take a little break. And then I want you guys to spend some time here.
You will have them.
Yeah. They'll talk about the test cases. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, last time you were not there. And so we didn't do it actually.
No, you did it, but you were sitting.
Very cozily.
Now I want you to come here. We'll put up your test cases up there. Smoke testing, not the entire thing. Okay. Excuse me. So now we talked about unit testing, integration testing, which was done by the development team. We talked about regression testing, functional testing, system testing, smoke testing, sanity testing, which is done by the QA team. Now, the end result, bigger picture, more users. Right? So that's user acceptance. User acceptance is, it's mostly the same thing that you guys have done in QA so far, but with bigger audience, larger database, more connection to third parties, where your software is actually getting ready to be accepted by the user. Who's the user? It is defined in the scope of the problem. For companies like Google and Amazon, everybody and anybody. For companies like Bank of America, it's their customer. Right? Unless you have an account with them, there's no point in them supplying anything. So it's a type of acceptance testing performed to identify all possible issues and bugs before releasing the product to everyday user or public. Okay. So now what happened is, as we discussed a little while back, is your database, or in order to store the database, right, you have to pay money. You cannot have those same set of databases available in the lowest possible environment and the highest possible. So what the capacity planner will do is they will identify a prod-like environment. Prod is production. Okay. So when your application is actually out open for the public, that is your application is in production. But we cannot just throw something in production before making sure that we should be able to cover as much as possible. So the last stage of that is user acceptance, where the size of database and the size of services available to the application is, if not exactly prod-like, then very close to production. Now, websites like CNN, they cannot have a UAT or user acceptance where it's exactly same as production. There are like 50 million hits on CNN. So what they do is they create something which is as close as production. What they'll do is in those kind of things, we have some dummy clicks, right? Where let's say our scripts are generating a load of 50,000, but we are calculating based upon what the performance of 50,000 is. The performance is going to be for 55 minutes. So we basically do a scalability test, but that's all user acceptance, and that's all automated.
That environment sometimes called as a pre-production environment.
Right. User acceptance, pre-production, prod, like there are different names on it. But you are paying more in order to maintain them. So you want to use less. Okay. You don't want to find functional tests in UAT.
Functional defect.
Yeah, functional defect. You want to find something like, oh, my social security field is not working in user acceptance. Because now you're paying more to find that bug. Okay. And in one of the 7 principles of testing, we found that early detection is less costly. If you find something real early, the cost to fix is less. But if you find something in production or a production-like environment, the cost to fix is more. And no matter what you do, the ultimate goal in life boils down to money for all these corporations. They don't want to spend money, they want to save money, they want to generate revenue. So now see, this is also important here. The focus of this testing is to simulate real users by using both black box and white box tests. Because you want to test the happy path and you want to test unknown. You want to test it in a bigger picture. Let's say, let's take an example of a flight where you are trying to book a fare between, let's say, Washington DC and New York. Okay. There are so many different ways you can book that fare. Can you test it every possible scenario in an environment, in an controlled environment? No. But you try to act as close as possible. Okay. You work on the logic that, okay, this is what I wrote, this is what our requirements look like, this is the happy path. Because that is what you promised. This happy path is what you promised. So that happy path should always work. If your happy path is not working, you're not delivering your software. Or you're not delivering anything that is not working happy path. So that is very important. B, then you want to go and build in some logic. You want to make sure that not only the happy path works, but between these requirements, anything and everything close to these requirements should work. So that's your alpha test. Now, what is the difference between alpha testing and beta testing? We talked about beta release a little bit. Don't turn the pages.
Beta testing. Beta real in, like when you deliver the product to the user, then user is using that in the real environment. Some set of that is beta testing.
Right. So the difference between alpha testing and beta testing is before and after the release. Okay. Right before the release, whatever you're testing is your alpha test. Whatever testing is happening after the release is the beta.
And alpha will be done by...
Alpha is controlled testing done by the QA folks or people who are acting as QA. But beta testing is open for the public. Okay, so there'll be like monkeys jumping in the cloud. Now, see, look at the flow diagram at the end of it. This is very important, and if you can remember this thing. The first thing is unit testing. Then comes into picture here integration testing. Then is the system testing, which is also the functional testing. And this is your UAT, alpha testing and beta testing. Because in alpha testing, you as QA folks are trying to find as many defects as possible. In the beta testing, your end users are trying to find you on the defects.
Basically, alpha testing is very important because the most expensive asset of any company, any corporation is their goodwill, brand value. And if defects are passing on into beta testing, you're basically compromising company's goodwill. That's the most expensive asset. So that's why alpha testing has a very focused and
example of, car industry. Okay, every now and then you'll see GMC has recalled, Honda has recalled, Toyota has recalled. What is that? That is the beta test. Because Toyota, okay, they have some issues with their floor mats or what have you, and they have to recall it because they were not able to do those testing in their prototypes, in whatever they're releasing pre-production. But when the users found it, it becomes, there's a liability issue, there's government agency involved, there's a lot of expenses. So had they found it in like system testing or where have you, they would have saved themselves from the embarrassment, right?
And actually, like a same Toyota example, when they had this brake shoe, it actually put down Toyota for a couple of years.
Their stocks were, their stocks and confidence, public confidence were all down in them.
For about 2 years, they were down. And that was just because they did not catch things enough for that.
If you're getting most bugs or defects from beta testing, brand value is taking.
If you're finding most bugs and defects in beta testing, then guaranteed you are Microsoft. Because Microsoft finds a lot of bugs in beta testing.
Or Obamacare.
They don't have that team.
Or Obamacare, right. This earning example is Obamacare. They failed with
I was
beta
like,
testing.
okay, thank God Raju finally forgot that and did it again. Because he kept on doing that in the first class. I said, okay, you're the Republican.
No. It does not matter what fails, it fails.
Yeah, I voted for Clinton, Hillary Clinton, and I voted for Obama. But now I don't like Obama.
Yeah. So it's because of developers.
No.
So they fix so much, right?
Yeah, the test failed, but
Yeah, they hurried up because it was a mandate from White House. So they released what he was saying, developers quick and dirty.
quick and dirty fixes. Because I know someone who's actually working on that project.
Oh, okay.
And see the cost of that defect scale in alpha is huge.
A friend of mine, let me share you this. This is interesting. This friend of mine, he works for QSSR, who is the backbone on this Obamacare. And they, according to him, they kind of already told this was right before, like during the summer months, that this is not possible to be released on October 1st and January 1st is when we were launched. But the mandate came, it's a law, okay, because somebody already promised, somebody had a promise. So they had to work it. This guy spent 4 days in ER on 3 different occasions because they are not able to get enough sleep. They are working at least like 14, 15 hours a day. Somebody tried to cut corners, not enough resources, money-wise and people-wise, and they want to deliver something that is a law. So they cannot cut corners there. They have to reach that deadline. So their time is limited, their resources are limited, but their scope suddenly gets wide. Okay, and remember, we talked about this thing. Right?
Yeah. Cost,
Cost.
time,
And what else?
resources.
Time and
Time, schedule.
Yes, schedule. Time is schedule, right?
yeah.
And
You're missing cost.
No, cost, time and schedule are
Cost,
same.
time and
scope.
Yep.
CST.
So if any one of them is compromised,
Otherwise,
quality will get affected.
Your quality will get it.
no, not necessarily. They have relationship like one changes and it will impact other 3 as well. But all 3 are being kept in balance so that quality is safe. They all impact quality.
So that's what happened in the Obamacare. Because their schedule and their resources, they did not change, but their scope changed. Once the scope changed, the quality crashed.
You want to take a 5-minute break? Or we have
I think, yeah, that's fine. Let's take a break here. Whatever, 15 minutes maybe.
5 minutes, I think. Because one more going to
Yeah, after that we'll be talking about
After 5 minutes, we can come back and everyone can see.
No, we still have to talk
Still
about
have
the methodology.
And I'm going to miss again.
Should we leave?
Why don't we finish that part first and then we can go.
You can do this time. Like, after 5 minutes break, you can use this time box presentation for each, and then you can do it.
What time you Okay. Let's do the presentation. So who's coming first? You're going to take 5 minutes
5 minutes
break?
break,
I can come back.
Yeah, okay. So what I'll do is in 5 minutes or maybe 10 minutes, I'll download all your test cases here and then we pick one. Okay? All right. 5 minutes break. You're going to talk to Deepika and tell her what's going on here in the meantime while I download because I'll disconnect. Or not disconnect, but I'll change the screen.
Yeah, that's fine. Hey, Deepika, you heard it, right?
Yes.
We are taking 5 minutes break. We'll be back in 5 minutes. So you can.
Okay.
Recording now?
No, we should not stop it. It's just later we can say continue. Just leave it right there, and you can. Did you say pause or not? Because
No, it says your presentation is ended. Would you like to go? Oh, my presentation is ended.
yeah. Otherwise, you can say stop. Yeah, let's see what happens.
Yeah, it will come back again.
Yeah. See part 1. So either you can put us on mute, or you can just take a break to reload your coffee mug.
Because I paused my screen.
Just mute. Steve, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Did you send your test cases to Rajiv or not?
Yes, I send you both.
Okay.
What is DEEP?
DEEP. Rajiv did not receive it. Maybe she sent to your engineering. Log in as me. Log in as me. What happened? You're not feeling good? Who?
I have a banana. No, I always drink that, but I don't eat. You know, right? Yeah, I know. And you know that banana.
Which one it is?
Third one. Next. No. You.
Let me just. Which one?
News tour, Mercury tour. Mercury tour. We just got later of the tour.
Same.
New tour.
Hey, what are you saying?
Google, right?
Mercury tour.
Engine killer.
There is nothing else?
That's it. Monthly experiment. The open recruit test. I think it's called.
No, this is need to know. And that's what we're okay.
Do I need to read all of them? These are almost 32.
No, you don't have to read all of them.
See, let's take it this way. Your entire suite is your functional testing. Let's pick up smoke testing. Okay, so just do maybe 4 or 5 of them.
Like I can pick up any of them and
You can pick up and you just tell us why this is critical. And go ahead and do it.
why this is critical.
Yeah, smoke testing, right? You're doing critical testing.
Then you can come here so that you can drive your screen.
Oh, I can read from here?
Well, you can either read from there, but if you need to go to test cases, you can use the keyboard. So which
This
test
is
case?
my first presentation, so I don't know how
Absolutely
to
fine.
start.
Absolutely fine.
And this presentation is for Mercury tours.
Mhm.
You can book your flights and vacation. This is for vacation.
Mhm.
And first test case is like click on site name, page should open. If it won't open, that means there is a bug. So page should open. The expected result is that. Home screen must have sign in, register, support, contact, home, flights, hotels, car rentals, cruises, destinations, vacations.
Let me ask you one question. And your first thing is that click on the site name, page should open. What will happen if the page does not open? You click on the site name and the page does not
That's
open.
a smoke test.
What's that?
That's a smoke test.
No, but what will happen?
Nothing will happen.
Nothing will happen.
Yeah.
What will you do? Will you still go through your other test cases? Do you still want to talk to me about your other test cases? No.
So after this, should I write down that
No.
out of the scope thing too?
No. Let's step back. I said, give me a critical test, okay, that you
That
will
is the
do
open.
for smoke test. So if that is the most critical test case for your smoke test. If you do not pass on that thing, that means there is no further testing. End of the story.
So what Rajiv is trying to say is your test case number 1 should be part of your smoke testing as well. Because if that doesn't pass, you don't do any further. So that's one of the test cases for smoke testing.
In any smoke testing, we talk time and again that the application should be testable. If you cannot launch it, you cannot test it. So that is your #1 smoke testing test case.
Oh, I need to say like that.
No. It's just for information.
Oh, this is just for information.
It's for the conversation that this is a good example of a system test case which will be used for smoke testing as well.
Okay. Is this the right way of doing that?
There is no right or wrong way of doing it. Okay. It's just how much detail you want to put in it.
And let's go through all of the test sheets, and then we can make suggestions like what are the better ways. There's no right and wrong. What are the better ways? We can do that.
It depends on how much you want to put detail.
Okay, keep going. And only the smoke test cases, yeah, remember, only the important one which you see, not everything.
Home screen must have all these tabs. Main screen must have all these tabs, like
all these fields,
like
you mean?
Sign in,
All these
register,
fields,
contact,
you mean?
Yeah.
Okay,
So it will pop up over there, all these
fields.
fields. All the tabs should
So
open
is
after
number
clicking.
two a smoke test?
I think this is smoke test. All the tabs should open after clicking. Then we will go on the what did you say?
Smoke test?
The tab. Fields. Yeah. It's the same. All the fields should open after clicking. This is, I think, smoke testing.
All the tabs should open. Tabs and fields are two different things.
What are tabs?
The tabs are, if you look at the website, on the website you'll have car rental, airline, cruise. So those are your 3 tabs.
Tabs or pages.
So what are these? Register, sign in,
These are
support,
your
contact?
These are
These
fields.
are fields.
Data entry, where you do the data entry, that's your field. While the enter page header, that's one tab. Flight reservation, hotel reservation, that's one tab. But okay.
But on the main page, we have the 3-4 main options, whether you want to go to...
Those are tabs.
Those are tabs. So tabs, are they taking us to the another application?
Not application, another page.
If you don't want to go to plane and only hotel, then if you press hotel, then it will take you to the hotel page.
So
anyway, this contact will take us to another place too. Like,
it might.
Yes.
Then it's the tab.
Some are tabs. Yeah, those are tabs.
Those are tabs. Okay, then you're good. Okay, so does everyone agree with Ritu that number 3 is a good candidate for smoke testing?
I think so.
You think so?
Yeah, because they're the main tabs.
Do you agree with Ritu that number 3 is a good candidate for a smoke test?
All tabs? Yeah, all their tabs should be clicked.
If you click on each tab, they should at least open their own page.
For me, I don't think.
No, don't think so. You think so?
I think so.
What do you think, Deepika?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. So if there are, so in smoke testing, you are testing high level, right? If you click a link and if the page does not open, basically you cannot do the detailed testing on that page. So it should be part of smoke testing because that's a detailed high level test case, and you should be able to click it and test it. So that's good.
So look at all the links.
You remember the name of the
website? Yeah. This is a good support. I'm getting complicated. Big pointer. Big pointer.
What are you looking for?
I was looking for the website. I forgot.
Mercury, Tours. I didn't know. Is it real site? No. I thought that is fake. You might have built that. Yeah, who built that?
HP.
Huh?
HP.
But that is not working, that site.
The company HP.
There are so many bugs.
That's the whole.
That's the purpose. This is meant for that.
They are not using that site in real. Nobody
it is
uses
for the
it.
QA purpose.
Oh, that is only for QA people. Yeah.
It is for us to learn.
That is fake.
Why do you need that website?
Okay. So see, these are tabs. Okay.
Also
And-
those ones.
Yeah. And
This is field.
Sign on, register, support and
This is
contact.
field.
That's why I wanted to bring it up.
Even the sign on, register,
That's
four
a
are-
tab. That's a tab.
Okay, only these two are
Where you enter the
all
field.
these are tabs.
See, if you click on sign up, this is the field. Okay, if you click, this is the register with the tab. These are fields.
And go back to sign on. So if you see here, username is a field, password is a field, while submit is called a button.
This is
So that is a button.
Okay? All right. So let's bring up the spreadsheet again. Okay, pick your other smoke test.
Okay. If your password and your username is not matching, if you have registered over there and you are signing in over there, if your password and username is not matching with the real one, it won't open. So I think that is smoke testing.
Let's put it this way.
If, okay,
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I mean, like, if we're not able to log in, it should be
Smoke
Abba?
test or a bug. I agree with it.
what?
For the username and password,
Mm-hmm.
if we are able to enter any value,
Hmm.
that should be a smoke. If you're not able to enter any value, that's a smoke test. But if you can enter the value and your password fails or your username fails, that's a smoke. So when you in the field value, right, when you're verifying a field value against a database and it fails, that's a defect. But if you're not able to enter the username or a password, that's a smoke testing. That's a critical functionality.
Okay, but that will come in registration, not in signing in.
No, both ways.
Both
If
ways?
your field, they cannot accept the value, like read-only fields.
Okay.
That's a smoke test. That should be covered under smoke test. But your half of it is correct. See here,
So the happy path is I should be able to enter a value in the name field. They might create a field where you cannot even enter a value. They might. So happy path is I should be able to enter a value in username. I should be able to enter a value for password. Then it matches or does not match. That's your system test. But it allows you to enter the value. That's your smoke test. So smoke test is absolutely happy path. The best case scenario, at least you should do this, this, and that. That's the smoke test. But okay, that will give you some feeling like how to pick. What else?
Okay, I have done this. First name should be in alphabet, last name should be in alphabet and all that. Email should be written with.
So these are all detailed testing. These are all detailed testing.
these are all detailed testing. These are functional testing. So these are good.
All address should be alphanumeric, city, postal, country tab should open.
Now see, sometimes when you say address should be valid, right? How will you determine what address is valid? Sometimes what happens is these websites, especially commercial websites, they give you guest access, where address and everything is not even required. Or they'll say John Doe, some street, some city, USA, zip code 123. So that is okay. What I'm saying is, try to avoid test cases where you're saying this should be valid. This should, it's kind of a little vague. I mean, this is a very good first step where you're actually thinking about all these things. The whole purpose of this exercise is so that you come into the thinking gear. You start thinking about the application. This is very good first step. Even I was really impressed that you picked up first test case as my application should be up and running. Subconsciously, that's what your smoke test is. And that is the most important test case that you can run as part of your smoke test.
Okay.
So, very good effort.
I think that should be it for Ritu, right? Let's bring up someone else. And at the end, we will discuss what we're missing in. I can find. I already see something is missing here. One of the major smoke tests. We'll talk about that after everyone. Come on.
But
I think after signing signing off should be there too. That should be clickable too. Otherwise,
Signing off should be there too. Yeah.
At the end, I wrote
Did you download hers?
Yes. KB underscore. But it's a very good first step. Second from yeah.
So you know the drill is you need to identify your test cases which you qualify as smoke testing. You can use it.
Yeah, I was telling you that was some new tool. Okay, so I have two test cases. The first one is Mercury tool science function. This test case I have several steps. The first step, the homepage should be open. So open the Mercury tool homepage with this URL in the browser. The test data is
just the link,
yes.
the URL.
The expectation is the homepage should be open with all. I mean, like I should say all the link on the top and all the tab on the left, right?
Yes, it's visible. All you can say is, as Vilitu said, keep it simple. You click on it, it opens.
It should open.
And then for the next one, we'll go and write more test cases. But the first is your application should be open.
So that's your smoke test as well. Okay, that's good. So at least both of them started with
Very good, yeah.
with the link. That's very basic.
Practice.
So the homepage should be open with the username and password text box. So and the sign-in button should be available for the user to
That's
sign
good.
in.
That's good. I will consider that as a separate, but yes, that's fine. Okay, keep going.
So the actual result I got correct, so I passed that step.
Okay.
Second step is
Do you mind if you can speak while standing there, because that's like if you can stand on the board and walk up from there, because that gives you more feeling of like being in an interview or something.
Okay. So the second step is click on the sign-in link. This is the link on the top. The one I click on, it should bring me to the sign-on page, which has the username and password text box and the submit button available for me to sign in.
See, one thing, this is a very good first attempt. Okay, kudos to you all. But one philosophy try to remember and follow in test cases, keep it simple. Okay, so one test case, one functionality. Okay, when you say sign-on page is displayed with username, password text box, and submit button, that's it. When you say it also has whatever, that should be your second test case. Okay, so try to get one full stop in the sentence. If it's a full stop, next step.
Basically, your test cases should be discrete. They should be identifiable and testable independently.
I'll tell you the advantage of keeping it that way. Suppose this test case fails. Okay, so where will it fail? Whether it failed in the submit button is clickable or user field is accepting the input, where did it fail? Again, you have to do one more testing to find out where was it failing. Right? If you keep it one step, so you say, I click on it, website display, pass. Then you go on the content of the website. Then you go on content of the fields and everything. So that's why when we say, if I say like for this website here 10,000 test cases, it's not exaggerated. Because ultimately you reach a set number.
Right.
But the advantage of the basic philosophy about keeping simple your test cases is so that it will help you A, in reproducing the bug, B, in reporting the bug where it fails. And again, when you quickly do it, you save on time.
In step 3, enter the valid username and password and click on sign button.
See, once you say user sign in successfully, stop it right there. And then validation of this should be in the next test. So basically, you should be able to say that this test case is for user, like the first name. Then that's it. That's one test case. Because if that fails, that should be independent defect. Then you should be able to do the last name failed. Then you should be able to say that submit button did not click. That should be separate, so that you can independently log a defect without any confusion, without any conflict. It should be very granular.
Oh, so it should go to different test case or
Different test cases, yes.
Test case.
Yeah.
Different test case.
Right. So don't hesitate if you are producing too many defects or too many test cases. It is okay.
It is okay to write more test cases, but your test cases should be really simple. It should be like, say, suppose, open this door. Okay. You say, I press the handle and pull it. That's two test cases. Pulling is another test case.
Okay. Keep going.
The valid username and valid password. And the next step is invalid username and valid.
Mm-hmm. So those are those smoke test cases or not?
No, smoke test should be a username and valid.
No, the validity of the data you check in the system test or the detailed test. Right now you're just saying that
Only the tabs. Those tabs should
be there, and one more thing is missing. We'll talk about this later. Okay, keep going.
But these should be in the same test case. But
No.
No, see, what you said is valid username, invalid password, right? What I will suggest is only keep the validity of username. Okay, don't involve second field here. Just say my valid username. Okay, it accepts my valid username. Then you come to the password. Valid username is already passed. Valid password, yes. If not, then the message will
And internally that is related. So like the password is always related to username. Saying internally valid password mean it is related.
So the next one on the Mercury store homepage. Oh, this one I log in with the blank. If I don't enter username or password, just click the sign.
Yeah, that's a good test case. Yeah.
So in that case, I expect the sign on page should be displayed, and it happens by time.
Sounds good. I think that should be good enough, right? Yeah, okay. Question.
She wrote down all these pass and fail columns. So aren't these test cases, should we write all these test and fail things too or not? Because we are not testing right now. We are just writing test cases.
Right.
No, that's fine. I mean, she went one.
Did you run those test cases as well? Yes. So basically,
I
what?
did that too, but I didn't write down.
That's okay. So basically, what she did. So you did for the first step, write down the test cases. She also ran those test cases. So when you run the test cases, then you say pass or fail, pass or fail. That's how you log the defects as well.
I ran all that.
Right. So you just did not log it. Otherwise, yeah, same thing.
So next time I need to.
You don't have to. We are not running it.
Okay.
She just took extra mile, but we are not running it. Yeah. I think that's good enough, right? Let's see if Deepika can do it. And I'm asking Deepika before she does, because so that she doesn't feel that we're forgetting her.
Yeah.
Deepika, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
You're on the hot seat.
I cannot hear you.
Okay. And you have the keyboard as well. You can use your keyboard and mouse on the screen now. If you need to scroll up and down. Do you have the control of the keyboard? Try your mouse. Yep. And you have the keyboard as well.
So
So you have the drill is you have to identify your smoke test cases and explain us a little bit why do you think these are smoke test cases, whichever you identify.
My first test case is that website should work or open. That's the very first smoke test. And the second one is.
And just one note on that is, I think Sue had it, but test case is basically a step-by-step process. You should have all the steps required to execute that test case. So enter the URL. You should have the URL into the web browser and click enter. It should open the website. So basically, you always need a little bit more details. Yeah.
If you go to Amy's test case,
Right.
She has it like pre-condition and post-condition. So sometimes what happens, suppose you are on the sign-on page, right? But how did you reach on the sign-on page? That's not the default page that opens with the application. So your precondition is your website open and the user is on the sign-on page. But that's just a difference of she was doing in Word and you guys are doing in Excel. But that's
You should have the basic steps required. Basically, you should think that the test case can be executed by you. Test case can be executed by a person who does not know anything, like dummy person. So you should think like that. And then you should say all the steps. Enter this URL into the browser. Press enter. When you press enter, then our expected result is the website should come up with so and so tabs. So that's basically the detail you need to provide. Okay? Go on.
And home page should show all the important menus or fields. And home page should have sign-in button, and new customers can register, and registered members can easily sign up.
Okay, so that's
Those are smoke testing too.
That's good. And that's what I was saying it was missing from some of the previous ones. That when you say that the website should come up, that means you need to also say that the minimum required fields and tabs should be displayed. That the page should display these 7 tabs and these 4 fields, and basically whatever is, where is that?
I wrote down all those tabs.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you didn't. I'm saying that that needs to be there, and that should be smoke test as well.
Yeah, I wrote down.
Yep, I know that. So basically, you should say that when the page is displayed, you should have these tabs in there and these data fields, the sign button, they should be there. So that's part of the smoke test as well, right?
Yeah, I did that too.
Yeah, okay. All right, keep going. Which other you think is your smoke test?
Clicking on register tab should open with the registration form, and phone number should be in numbers, and email address should contain @sign, and city, postal code and state should be valid.
So phone number, email, are those smoke tests or not?
No.
What do you guys think? No? No? Okay. And you are
It
saying
could be
no?
functional testing.
Okay. So which is your other smoke test? Okay.
Submit button should work and accept members by clicking on that. That should be smoke testing.
I didn't follow that.
Submit button.
Can you say that again? We didn't follow.
Submit button should work and accept the members. While registration, they fill the form, and when they press submit button.
But we can say that if you just enter a valid value and press submit button, it should accept. We can consider it as a smoke test. That's fine.
That's basically, it really depends upon your choice and availability of time. If you think that's critical, that's critical.
Right. So as we said, like, there's no absolute right or absolute wrong, but you can choose that functionality as a smoke test as well if you want. If you have time and resource, you can choose it, but then you can skip it as well for the smoke test. So as we said, that the smoke testing is just a subset. Nobody tells you, nobody defines how big or small set is it is. It can be it's discretion mostly. Okay. What else you have?
All the tabs I mentioned different. Destination, vacation, and car rentals, hotels tab should open by clicking on that and should show the details in there. And one more, registration members after sign in can see their profile and they can edit in that.
What is the last one I didn't get?
Edit the profile.
Ability to edit the profile. That can be considered as a smoke test as well. Yeah.
24th one.
24, yeah.
Payment option.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. All right, I think that's good enough. Right? Yeah, let's switch back to the classroom. You have a question?
Yeah, when I was clicking on hotels, car rentals, and destinations, vacations, they were not opening. It was showing like under construction. So that is not a bug. That is not any.
Now, when it says under construction,
It means
basically it was part of your scope. It was out of your scope. Okay, so maybe they'll deliver it sometimes later or what have you.
okay.
But during the QA turnover meeting, these kind of stuff, they'll tell you right at the time that.
So not the entire application is developed at once. They develop a set of functionality and give it to you. Then you have, your scope is only that functionality. You have to test for that functionality. You don't test the entire functionality at once. If it is not being built. If they say under construction, that means that requirement is not with you for test yet. So you will not test it, you will not fail it.
Okay. So we are not going to write down anything about that?
No. No.
Because if we will write down something, then we need to
You don't write
say
it.
fail.
You don't write it. Yeah, you don't write
Oh.
it.
Can you take one over? So that means this is known. This is the information, like this is the know-how of people saying we have not delivered this. So when we have not delivered it, you are not supposed to do it.
Basically, you don't want to spend your time and money if it is not being delivered, it's not being developed.
Okay.
So see that back to home should take you back to home.
Yeah,
If that is not working, then it's a problem.
I wrote down that too.
Okay. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. That's Sheetal now.
You're getting late.
I know.
You could do that.
I
Don't just say more.
In most cases, I would prefer them to stand up and walk through because they should be able to talk to the group of people. I will probably be that way. And I'm taking over.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
So what I have done is I assumed that I'm already on the page. So I did not do the smoke test, so I didn't even think about it actually. I'm assuming I'm already on the page.
So that's the precondition. So when we say precondition, it means user is already on the page. So the first thing is you click on the link and the website opens. Okay? And everything after that is a precondition. Everything after that, all the test cases after that should have a precondition saying I'm on the website or the user is on the website. So let's assume your precondition is user on the website and then you.
Okay. So what I did was I did it as step. So I don't know, I think that my whole thing is, I don't know if I would call it wrong or what. I'm behaving like I am testing it. So what I did is I say, okay, I click register and I enter first name. So here I have a data because I have written the data for everything that I am using the register button or whatever. I'm using contact. I'm on the page, contact information. Yeah, that's right.
Let me suggest you something here. When we say test data, okay. Deepika, can we have the control back, please?
Yes, I did that.
Thanks for that.
So see, this expected result, right, should accept only up to 15 alphabets. This should be a test data. Okay. Your test data.
I was assuming data means the actual for this particular test where I am in the program. So all this is
you're trying to register. Okay. trying to register yourself, right? Now, website has no information of you. You are entering it for the first time. Website does not know whether your name is Bob, John, Robert, or what have you. Right? So, your limitation is, you can say, because of the database limitation, I cannot accept more than 20 characters or more than 15 characters. But there's something called alphanumeric, which is numbers and alphabets both. So your name, they should be able to accept numbers and alphabets.
When you said the third, then I okay.
Yeah, senior, junior, first, second, third, what have you. So those are sometimes what happens is in the registration field, you'll see prefix or postfix kind of thing. So they will say your first name can be only alphabet, like alpha character, and then again alpha character. But your prefix and postfix, they'll have a drop down, so you can limit it by the senior, junior, first, second, third, what have you. So those are not your expected results. Your expected result is it is expecting a valid response, and your whatever is your valid response, which is your test data, is accepted.
So whatever written in test data, that is expected result.
Yes.
Yeah. So. I'll do.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Hold on. How do you do this here? Because like Mac, I'm trying to do everything
Okay.
with.
Let me come back.
Oh, I use arrow keys?
Yes.
Okay.
Now see, again, everybody has done this. Valid password, invalid password, wrong password, or how do you determine what is wrong password?
Wrong password means something that didn't match your previous password.
Right.
What does
But
wrong mean?
But look at it this way. You've seen so many websites, right? Password is always, it has to be secure, right? So the limitation comes from the website itself, from the database. They'll say your password should contain at least one number, at least one special character, right? And whatever limitation. So your password should be a combination of, uppercase, lowercase, special character, number. If that's your test data, okay, that determines whether your password format. Right now you're only checking for format. Data validation is happening at the end of it. You don't know whether what you're doing is you cannot check for a wrong password or right password. But what you can do is your test case should say what will happen if the user enters a wrong password. It should come back with a message saying your combination is wrong. That's the only thing you can test.
So do we need to assume like we are going there first time and we are just registering there?
Yeah, there are two ways. When you're registering, you're there first time.
Yeah.
Because if you have been there, that means you're registered.
So if we are signing in, it means it needs to be like
Validated.
valid. In registering thing, it should be like that much characters or alphabet, letters.
While you're registering, your password should be in the test data limit. So it should be a combination of uppercase, lowercase, and everything. So you'll be testing for the format. You say, what if the user says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 as a password? You'll reject it, saying, I need at least one alphabet, I need a combination of uppercase, lowercase letters, and I need one special character. Okay? If it is not in the same format, you'll reject the password right away. You won't even go to the database. Now comes the picture when user is already registered and he's trying to sign in. When you're trying to sign in, then you're validating against the database. But you as a tester has no way of knowing somebody's password. But what you can do is, you can display the error message. So you have to, all you have to do is check the validity of the error message. Okay. Whether the error message displays the correct message or not. Okay. Testing a password is a very complicated field. It's not as simple and as easy as looks. Okay, because there are 26 letters and 10 numbers. So that is 36. Just pick a permutation and combination.
Encrypted, isn't it law to encrypt
See, we'll talk about it a little later. It's not actually law, but there's something called compliance testing. So what does compliance testing does is, there are standards, okay? So all these banking websites and wherever they are accepting credit cards, they have to be PCI compliant, which is personal card information. So that PCI compliance, what PCI compliance requires is that all your websites, wherever they are accepting credit card information and sensitive information, which is your social security number or your date of birth, excuse me, that should be 128-bit encrypted. That means there are two ways that you can pass the information on the internet. One is plain text, which is, it will go as your type. So if you say my name is Amy, it will go as my name is Amy. Okay. But the disadvantage is anybody who is sniffing on the communication, they can get this information, and that's where the hackers come in. Okay. So the PCI requires that every piece sensitive information, every time you send it over the net, you encrypt it. Those encryptions can be, strong encryptions or not that strong encryption. Some of the websites, if you try to choose your password, they will say strength of password, weak password, mild password, strong password. Strong passwords are always a combination of uppercase, lowercase, at least one special character, and what have you, right? So what that does is, when you do 128-bit encryption, it basically jumbles up everything and throw in some new stuff. If you look at your password, maybe you'll pick up 8 characters, but that encryption will make it look like a 32 characters. So it's really tough for the people who do not know you to guess what your password is. Okay, but that does not come from your requirement. Your requirement will only say your data should be PCI compliant. That's it. That's compliance testing. And password is one of those. So it's very complicated. Writing test cases for password validation is complicated.
I think there's no point in going ahead because I think everybody has similar stuff.
Okay. Now, what I'll do is I'll upload some examples of the real life test cases, and you'll see how simple they are. Like,
That would really help.
yeah, they are literally as simple as user click on submit button. End of the story. That's it. Done. My test case is done. Again, the reason for keeping a test case as simple is because you want to exactly pinpoint where it is failing. If you're trying to do 3 or 4 things in one test case, and if one test case fails, then you don't know which one of those 3 fails. Okay? So one action, one test case. Steps can be more. You can be as detailed as possible on your steps. But one action, one test case.
So in office, are we going to write on all these test cases, like hundreds of them, thousands of them? This is only at the small page and small site. I wrote almost 32. She wrote more than 50, I think. Okay.
Okay, I'll let her answer that question. What do you think?
To her question, that will we be writing the test cases? No, are we
Not
going
initially.
Not initially.
No, how many test cases you'll be writing?
How many? Here I could still come up with 100 more because only on the main page I have written this 52 or whatever. I've not even gone into all the other pages. So, isn't that boring?
No, it's interesting.
Actually not boring. It is repetitive in some cases. So are you going to just copy and paste somewhere?
I tell you what, there's a page on one of the flight reservation websites, and it has submit button. I've seen 64 test cases just to test that submit button.
Ashmi always told me that this is going to be like this. No, man, don't even give up before
What?
you like what might be the difference.
Right. See, what happens is, now there are, say, first name, last name, date of birth, when you're trying to register, right? Now, do you really think any user will wait that long before he or she can hit the submit button? You can hit the submit button at any given point of time, right? So now, what happened is, I'm in the middle of registration. I'm registering myself. I said last name, first name. I missed one field, and kept on going, and then hit the submit button. Submit button, it should immediately identify what field I missed. Did I miss any mandatory field or not? Right? If it's a mandatory field, like my last name is needed and I missed it, I should not be able to go to the next page. It will immediately throw me an error message. So depending on how many entries you have on the page, that one little submit button can take that many test cases. It's always permutation combination.
I think you have to get creative in a way where you can break down the system. So one test case is combination of all the entry and the submit button.
No, for submit button is one functionality. Okay, so my requirement will say when I click on submit button, I should go to the next page. That is my one requirement. But in order to go to the next page, I should have everything, all the information available here. If this information is not filled, no matter how hard I hit that submit button, it should not take me to the next page. So you have to pass all of these, you have to fail all of these before you can take me to the next page.
Can you
Yes,
I'm sorry, I'm still confused. Like, so in this case, password and username and submit button. So we put all the entering username, entering password, and click button in one test case, or should be in three or more than three different test cases.
See here, look at this contact information. What if I did say, okay, and I said submit. See? Now this is not what we want because I did not do any other information.
So the most funny thing,
right? So this failed actually.
If you don't even enter your credit card information, it's actually giving you tickets.
That's because it's a bug in the system. But see, this submit button, I just entered my first name here and whatever. It should not take me there. It should say what happened to your last name and other information, but it says thank you for registering. So that's all we need to test here. Okay. Some of these fields can be mandatory fields. Right now, nothing is mandatory because there is no database behind it. So I can say country Yugoslavia and submit it. See? That's how many ways I can test the submit button. These fields should be combination. Okay.
I think only 7 minutes are left.
7 minutes? Let's go back to the model.
And we haven't done that NTO thingy.
No, that's okay. That's just for you to remember.
Okay.
I'm not going to check it because we talked about it.
I don't see the slide that we went over last time. Was it posted in the... Which one? The slide. Oh, she's talking about the extra slides we were going to mail it.
Oh, for the SDLC? Oh, that's my bad. Okay, yeah, I should have done that. I'll post it up.
Okay.
Actually, as soon as I end this. So, let's quickly talk about these, okay? Software development methodologies and testing. What happens is when we are sitting down to talk about software development life cycle, we follow certain standards, we follow certain methodologies. We cannot just work out of thin air. Let's talk about those because based upon those, our testing methods will be different. Even though we'll be following the same process of writing test cases and testing and everything, but at what is the starting point of you writing test cases, what is the starting point of you testing will differ a lot based upon what technique is used. And QA team has no saying, almost no saying in picking up these methodologies. They're done by architects or dev managers, or sometimes even the designing phase. But as I said, like depending on these methodologies, when and where you're starting, that matters a lot. We'll talk about some of the common ones, but if you think there's something else that you need to discuss, just let us know. So the most common and the oldest one is the waterfall method. Okay. In the waterfall method, if you remember all those SDLC things where your initiation and everything starts, so it literally goes like this. Okay. Okay. So it will go initiation, then planning, design, development, testing, deployment. Each new phase is starting only at the completion of the previous phase. So that's why it's a waterfall method. Okay. Unless initiation is finished, you are not starting designing or you are not starting planning. Unless the planning is completed, you are not starting design, or your design is complete, you are not starting development. Normally in software, or especially the newer development, this is no more in use. This is a legacy system. But say if you're working for a company like a GE, okay, GE still follows. Why they follow it? Let's say an example of car. Okay, unless your design of the car is ready, you cannot start building it. You have to have the design, right? So in all those legacy systems, you still use waterfall. But places where you are developing a website and what have you, these are most expensive methods. You are spending very much money on that. So you don't want to do it. This is
so basically testing will be done after everything. Every step is just
after coding and unit testing, only after this.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
Yeah, during this whole thing, during system feasibility to coding, testing team is shopping and code. Only after that you guys come into picture. And when testing is happening, development is out on picnic. The disadvantage of this is retention is very difficult because by the time you are in testing phase, your designers and developers are gone. So if there's an issue, there's a problem, you want to get some clarification, you have nobody to solve that. And plus, of course, you're literally feeding more people for doing less work, and that's again crunching the resources. So IT industry is getting away from this waterfall.
You had mentioned last time that smartphone and those people will try to follow this, right? Because for more accuracy, I think. No, only when they have the stuff all assembled and all ready, right, then the testing can begin.
That's a similar example of what I did with G, or GMC rather, G car companies or wherever you are producing few things. Okay, so unless your shuttle is ready, you cannot test it, or unless your car prototype is ready, you cannot test it. But in software industry, they are getting away from it. This is one of the most common methods where if it's not, there are two most common methods used in software. Actually three. Agile is one. Yes. So Agile, V-model, and RUP, the Rational Unified Process. Those three are the most commonly used. And let's pick up the V-model, and you see where you come into the picture. See when you do the why this is called V-model first of all. Okay. Look at the design. It's V. Okay. See that? Now what's happening is, this is a very simple method to understand. Okay. For the time being, let's hide this portion. let's not even talk about these blocks here. Okay. Let's just talk about requirement specification and all these things. Now what happened is SDLC, right? Let's go back to SDLC. Initiation, planning, design, development, testing, maintenance, what have you. Now during the initiation or planning phase, when they're talking about requirements, okay, the business team and the architects, they are breaking their heads on the requirement specification. What is testing team doing at that time? They are writing the acceptance test plan. Why they are doing it? Because requirements, they will give you expected results. So in the acceptance test plan, you say my end result should be equal to my expected results. Okay, and those expected results are defined in requirement specification. So right now what you're doing is when the business analyst and the architect, okay, they are writing requirement specification. QA team is doing acceptance test plan. Forget about the acceptance test yet. It's only plan. Okay. Second thing, when the functional specification is, when architectures, arc and dev, architects and dev, they're writing functional specification. What does functional specification does? It basically tells you the flow of the application. Okay. Requirement specification, they were telling me what can I expect out of this application. Okay, what is my expected results? Functional specification, how to get to those expected results. Okay, so now what are you doing? Development and architect, they are writing those functional specifications. But what is QA doing? QA is writing a system test plan or functional test plan. Okay. You're just writing the test plan here. Next, when the coding starts on the system, like the development team comes into picture. This is only development here. Okay. So when the development team, they start writing the code and everything, what you are doing is you are writing your integration test plan. Okay. So in V model, QA team goes from acceptance test plan. This is a, what kind of approach is it? Is it top down or bottom down?
Top down.
Absolutely. Because you are starting with the top level acceptance. This is what I want. Okay. So you're starting with your acceptance test plan, then you're going into system test plan, then you're going into integration test plan. And when dev folks are doing their unit design and unit testing, that's when you're writing your test cases. Remember I told you, during unit testing, testers can borrow your test cases. So while they are in the unit design, your test cases should be done. Okay. So then they're writing their code, they're doing their unit testing, and once this is done, then the system integration testing, system testing, and acceptance testing comes into picture. So it all boils down from this guy. It is going this direction, and at the same time it is also going up to here. Okay, and when this is coming up, then you are on this side. Okay.
Because earlier you were writing test cases, when you were going down, at the time they were writing test cases, then they are going up. At the time they were just testing.
Yes, absolutely. See, this is for QA team. This is planning phase.
Yeah.
And this is action.
Yes.
So this is V model is the relationship between your plan and your action. Okay. Any questions here? No? Okay. But don't worry, read about it. If you have more questions later, email me or we'll talk about it this week. Okay? And then
Can we like stop for this class and continue next? The reason is I'm feeling very rushed.
okay.
No, I mean when I'm not able to absorb. Only one page is left here. Agile and test for that's all.
It's not just one page.
I know.
I can go on one whole day on those 2 pages.
No, because
No, I totally agree. If you
there's like
think
a
rush,
panic, thing.
there's no need to panic button right now. But maybe we can spend like 5 more minutes on V-model and then I'll let you guys go. So, is there any doubt here or do you want me to repeat it again?
No, we have the recording. But I'm really lost right now. So
All right, then let's take it. Okay, so from next class we'll start with the methodologies first and then we'll go into detail.
And what will be our assignment?
They'll be posted on the site.
No, we just want to. No, but you please
See, it's like
you
start writing a test plan.
for what?
Test plan. What is test plan?
Is it test plan?
Yeah. What is test plan? What is a test plan?
What is it test
It's a document that lists all your strategies, methodologies, schedules and everything for your testing.
Do we need to write down all the definitions? You mean?
Not
Test plan, what is the basically what an architect is doing?
No,
Then-
your lead is doing.
Yeah.
Whatever is your lead doing.
For what?
Testing team. Test plan is not for a project. Test plan is for the testing team, the whole team. Who will do what, when, where, in what scenarios, what is their acceptance, what is your...
But you've never seen one. So can you send us some to do that?
I want you to do it, then we'll talk about it. We'll discuss it. See, if I give you, I don't want to do the white box testing. I don't want to give it to you. I want to think about it. Okay, think about, say, suppose you're a team lead, okay, and you want to test an application. Just, you can write bullet points. That this is what I want to do. You don't have to fill in meat there. Just give me the bullet points. Saying, as soon as, or as high level as I want to gather my team. That is one of your test plans. But that is part of your test plan. How will you gather your team? What is your team composition?
Okay, I got
How many manual testers you need? How many automation engineers you need? Okay, what is the schedule of testing? When will you accept the releases?
Okay, I got you now.
Okay, so all those things. Go, no go. Whether I should test it or not. Just give me the bullet points. We'll bring on me. See what I'm trying to do here is what we are trying to do is just pick up the template. Start filling them. By the end of the class, you'll see how the thing, step by step, how this is all developed. Nothing is developed in one day, and not one person develops everything. There are people who give feedback. There are people who, sometimes they write their different modules. So, test plan. The testing team is supposed to produce it. Okay, your team lead will say, can you give me the strategies? So you'll write testing strategies. That means, when are we going to test it? What is the acceptance criteria? What are we not going to test? All those things. Your team lead can say, can you give me the schedule? So you'll say like, okay, I should have 10 testers for this. I need 2 automations, 8 manual. And this is a perfect, 80-20 is what the balance is between automation and manual.
So for what kind of testing we are going to write down all these test plans? Because there is
Manual.
RUP, Agile and all that.
You can pick up one of those two.
Oh, okay.
You can pick up. You said let's assume because not all the projects follow the same methodology. Okay, I've seen in one company there are like 10 projects following Agile method. Every Wednesday they'll take a class. There are some RUPs going on. There are some V models going on. Depending on what is the urgency and need of the project, they'll pick up their methodology. QA has no say in that. But what you can say is, if it's Agile, then this is what we are doing. If it is V model, this is what we are doing.
So there will be different test plans for different methods.
Generally, everything is covered in one test plan. But they have sections. This is for agile testing.
Okay, there will be like subsets.
I mean, if you want, I can post a table of content, and then I'll ask you to put meat on it.
Okay.
So,
No,
it's your
just
choice.
let us do that.
Okay.
Then
Just put a table of content. Okay, maybe 5 bullet points, 10 bullet points. Just a table of content of your test plan. Is that fair enough?
Also, can you send us those samples?
Yeah, I'll real life test case.
Okay, all done for today?
I guess. But there's one request or a suggestion. Ask as many questions as possible.
They're asking you.
Yeah, I think you're still there.
Okay, next time we will write down all those.
Yeah, because see, the thing is, it really depends on my happy path is what these slides are. If you want me to explain more, then you have to ask me more. If you're not asking, I'll assume everything is green.
I have a question.
Sure.
Yeah. So for the homepage open, I should have one test case. One test case.
Yeah.
And what should be displayed on the homepage one?
Nothing. See, because let's put it this way. When the website opens, you don't know what is the content on it unless you see it, right? In most cases, you'll see something like, say, let's see, here, right? If I say,
Can we leave?
yeah, see, address is not valid, right?
Bye. Okay, bye.
All right, thank you. So if I type the wrong path or wrong link or what have you, all it says is address is not valid. Okay, and this is fine because now the website is not coming up. Or if the website is there, web services are able to decipher your address, but they'll say HTTP 404. That means I cannot find the page that you're requesting. So that's fine. That's one test case.
Yeah. So I mean another test, a different test case for what should be displayed on the homepage?
Now, what should be displayed on the home page? Normally, what happens, you'll get the wireframes. Wireframes are, documents that shows you the look and feel of the pages. Okay, so when you click on it and the home page displays, the home page should match the wireframe, and you can post images on that saying it's missing because it's not possible if it's a complicated website like this. And trust me, this is not much complicated. There are more complicated websites. So you cannot write each and everything. You cannot even write what is the word context here. So say website matches the wire. That's it. It's the simplest thing that you can do.
And its username and password are in like how many test cases should be?
Thank you.
Yeah, how many test cases?
Now see, this what this can do is, my first test case is, I have a data field here, right? And this data field says my username should be between 8 to 16 characters. Okay, so first of all I should be testing for 8 to 16 characters. I'll put 7 characters. Okay, and we'll talk about the 7 and 17, which is boundary value analysis. So what you do is boundary value analysis is you'll go plus minus 1. Okay, you test the boundaries, but that's a different thing. You have not done it yet. But here what you do is, let's say you put 7 characters. Okay, so it should reject you right away. It should say username small or whatever is the error message in the back. You said 17 characters, right? So again, it should reject you before you even go to the sign-in button. The validation should be happening here, right? Same is with the password. If your password is not within the limit, it will reject you right here. You should not be even able to go. So see, what happened is, you put an invalid value here and try to click on this. You'll get an error message. Again, invalid value here, invalid message. All those kinds.
Yeah, so I should have.
Can I leave too?
Sure.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
And click in valid and invalid.
Yeah.
So,
So, yeah, when invalid username and click sign in, error message displayed. Error message displayed. Okay, you should not be able to sign in.
So I should not combine like username and password in one testing.
No. Yeah. I'll show you some real life examples from airlines industries how they do it. They'll say just for navigation, like going back and forth on the browser, they'll have 3-4 steps. They'll have so many steps. Okay. All right. But another thing is, Amy, try to open up and speak up, because see, the testing field, what this does is it basically expects you to ask. Okay, if like even in the day-to-day work, when you're working, if you think like everything is passing, that's not a good scenario, right? So you should be able to walk up and say why this is failing. You know, that thing should come. You should, if there's something that you're thinking about, just open up and ask. Okay, trust me, I've been in this industry for 17 years. There is no silly question. Everything is valid, because if you're not asking, you're not picking up. Okay, so just feel free to ask. If you might think that this is a silly question, but when you hear the answer, you're like glad that I asked you. So always open up and ask. Okay.